All right. So Twitter will undoubtedly have put out something saying that I'm gaming on this channel. That would be a lie. I now have to send this to everyone and correct them. Correction. YouTube was allowing me to set up a stream, but will not take my OBS output. Alternate channel. Alternate channel will have to be used. I'm kind of pissed about this. And I'll throw this one out there. This is not how I wanted to start this. Streaming the garbage human incident on my alt channel. YouTube sucks. All right, good enough for me. Let's roll on, shall we? I see I got one watching. So whoever has tuned in for this, thank you very much. And again, I welcome folks in the audience. If you want to come in and kind of say, well, yeah, I do or don't agree with your take on this, by all means. No reasonable request turned away. I'll set up a Google Hangout and you can just pop right in. But I would like to discuss the Sargon-Sarkeesian issue. And I'd like to do so as far as strategy really plays into it. Because while I don't think that necessarily either individual was, let's say, consciously employing these strategies, that might infer a certain sort of, or imply, I should say, a certain sort of conspiracy or, premeditation to either causing a disturbance or provoking one, etc., etc. Though I no doubt believe that Sargon knew his presence would not go unnoticed, I won't attribute any motive to these actions. So let that just be the disclaimer for the rest of this. I'm attributing no motive, only pointing out the strategies that I feel came into play here, how the two major players in this whole relatively minor, or what should have been minor, but it seems to have been blown up incident, and again, I'm not helping that, I understand this. Seeing how this all went down. So first off, I'd like to kind of do a general sum up of how, I guess, let's do the event. Let's do the events, then the outcomes, then the various strategies at play. I think that's the appropriate order to work with. And as you can see on the right-hand side here, I do have the PDF for just the summaries of the different strategies involved in the 33 Strategies of War by Robert Greene, which is what I'll be referencing here. But just for anyone who, for some reason, is not aware of what's been going on, and I can see that Boons has made it over here. Yeah, I don't, let's not get into the whole Sargon and Anita thing. I don't ship it. I don't ship it at all. As much as I ship Franny and Andy, or Chesky, if you will, as much as I ship that, I don't ship Anita and Sarkeesian and Sargon. But anyway, so the events, as summed up as basic as possible. Sargon went to a panel regarding online harassment where Anita Sarkeesian was a featured speaker. Sargon sat in the front row of the panel hall. Anita Sarkeesian, spotting Sargon in the audience, made a series of remarks about him and his channel, ultimately culminating with calling him a garbage human. Sargon only initially replied with saying he just wanted to talk, which got a "oh, come on, man" from Sarkeesian. And Sargon eventually published a video in which he petitioned VidCon organizers and co-founders, Hank and John Green, to have Anita Sarkeesian removed from the event for breach of the VidCon Code of Conduct, and in which he recommended or at least informed people of the ability that they had to do the same. So the outcomes. Anita not removed from VidCon, though definitely facing more criticism as a result of her hypocritical actions. Sargon's facing some criticism for trying to quote-unquote deplatform Sarkeesian, a common SJW tactic, as a skeptic/anti-SJW YouTube content creator, and tons of posts and videos about the drama, to which this video will add yet another tally. Frandy, that's the one. There's Frandy as well. Garbage human doesn't sound grammatically correct. I guess if you're using garbage as an adjective, you're a terrible human. You're a garbage human. It's definitely not eloquent, but it definitely got her point across. But so that's kind of where we're at, as far as I can tell. Top Hat and Champagne posted out on the This Week in Stupid that it's all just been a giant tactic to show the the hypocrisy of the whole. Yes, now deplatforming's wrong and yada yada yada. I don't know if there was that much conscious thought into it. I think there was definitely a good deal of this is going to rustle some jimmies by Sargon, especially sitting in the front row. Guaranteed to at least get some sort of publicity out of it. But again, I think he takes a bit there from Alinsky's Rules for Radicals, where he's giving his opponent the opportunity to make themselves seem ridiculous, as opposed to just directly making them seem, out of their minds. If he didn't do anything and nobody said anything, and then afterwards a bunch of articles came out, he gets to point to it and say, I didn't do anything at all. I just sat there and observed the panel like everybody else. Paid my ticket. You can't stop me. Deal with it. And by doing so, make them look crazy. In this case, Anita bit the bait. Did she ever? And now gets to make her look ridiculous from that. But moving forward, the strategies I would say that are at play here that were actually employed or that were positively used. Insert the command spam. No. There will be no Nightbot here. Actually, it's one benefit of being on this channel. But in any case, common to both sides. Common to both sides is definitely the polarity strategy, declaring war on your enemies. Essentially, this is to make no equivocations, make no attempt to muddy it. You have to establish the fact that you are in opposition to a group, an individual. You have to identify and inwardly declare war upon this person to yourself. You have to acknowledge that this conflict is happening, and yep, we're going out there, we're getting this done. Sarkeesian and Sargon have both definitely committed to a culture war of sorts on either side, and so I think this one does come into play. At the very least, they know that there's a conflict going on. They have agreed with themselves to engage in it, and so they're not being caught out on that one. Moving on, the next one that is shared is all the way down at 25, so we'll get to that. Sargon's got a number of these in his favor, and it should come as no surprise since the outcome of all this has been Anita with a lot of egg on her face, and Sargon sacrificing some if this was a proper ploy to use the whole commentary on deplatforming issue. Only minor blowback from his. And from people who just don't seem to understand that could be a tactic being employed. Next one up for Sargon would be, amidst the turmoil events, do not lose your presence of mind, the counterbalance strategy. He was being blasted, called out publicly. It's not an easy situation to be placed in. And he handled it very well. Handled it with composure, sat there, took the brunt of it, and let it keep going. Don't make a scene, just let it happen, move on. If he had have flipped out and blasted back at Sarkeesian immediately, he no doubt would have been escorted from the panel hall, would have been demonized all over the place by the press, saying, oh, he showed up to disrupt this and got loud and aggressive and threatened her with his presence, yada, yada, yada. Maintained his presence of mind and did not fall into that possible trap. I think that's something that quite obviously, Sarkeesian failed to do. And that is here, the midst turmoil events counterbalance strategy. Next up on Sargon's side, if sides can be used, if you understand what I'm meaning here, is picking your battles carefully, the perfect economy strategy. Overall point here is, well, you don't go fighting a battle you can't win. You walk away from those ones, you come back, live to fight another day, as it were. Definitely one that played in. I would say that this right here is the key to it all. This is the linchpin strategy from which everything else flowed. In going to this panel, Sargon had very little that he was putting at risk. Almost nothing at all. All he was doing was going to show up to a panel, sit there, and as long as he didn't shoot his mouth off or make a scene, he had nothing to lose. He wasn't going to lose any face, wasn't going to be demoralized or illegitimized by his own actions. He's just going to maybe waste a couple hours of his time. Who knows? But because he risked nothing and gained a bounty of opportunities, he had the opportunity to, in person, capture video of the panel in which Sarkeesian could have made statements that would have, say, backtracked on previous ones, been inconsistent with her stated positions. Essentially gives him the opportunity to gather intelligence, if we're going to take this from that kind of a standpoint. This gave him a recon opportunity that he could potentially use for the future. If nothing else came of it, of course, the garbage human remark and the little miniature tirade she went on was a result. I think he played it off very well. And of course, the next but not least, I suppose, the counterattack strategy. Yes, he sat there, took his beating, allowed her to waste a lot of energy and face and PR, if you will, blasting away at him in public, responded by giving her no real angle of attack on him, and just said, well, by the rules of the organization and by the rules of the convention, you can't do this. And because I am the person directly affected by your insults and abuse of public position to do this, I am going to petition the co-founders to act based on their own codes of conduct. There's nothing wrong in Sargon doing that. And I understand that a lot of people are going to get upset because, it's deplatforming. He's demanding she not be allowed at the rest of VidCon, yada, yada, yada. The thing is here, VidCon is a private event put on with, you gotta pay for your entry. There are rules for participating at various levels. And he's right. One of those that you can't sit there and abuse or harass or insult and generally bully and belittle someone from a panel. Or in any case, really, you're just not allowed to do that. And because they're not allowed to do that, and because they have every reason that they ought to have known that they're not allowed to do that, they being Sarkeesian in this, Sargon has every right to use a private function's code of conduct to hit back. That's just how it is. It doesn't matter if he disagrees with deplatforming as a larger issue. And I think most people should be intelligent enough to know that the deplatforming with which most disagree from the rational skeptic side of things is deplatforming based on ideological grounds. Now, yes, could it be said that Sargon was simply taking advantage of the rules as they existed to, get a shot in at an ideological rival? Absolutely, you could take that stance. But it doesn't matter. Without proof one way or the other, you have no option, really, but to give the benefit of the doubt and say, well, he's working within a private organization or functions rules. That private organization has to live by the rules they've set out or change them. And of course, Sarkeesian was allowed to sell her panels and whatnot. As far as I know, no major action was taken. But it, again, allows him to display a level of hypocrisy being put to show. Moving on, though, the next one we would have, we've gone through a couple from self-directed warfare, so the kind of war of the mind of your own. The defensive warfare, pick your battles carefully and turn the tables. Now we get into offensive warfare, and no, I don't mean because that offends me. Offensive warfare, where you actively take the fight to someone else. Lose the battle, win the war. Sargon's quiet reply and not fighting in that moment definitely made him appear, if you will, for the moment, if you'll hear me out, the submissive party. Standard social practice is if somebody wants to sit there and blast you, well, you're going to fight back and you're going to give them what for and you're going to tear a strip off them by help you, so help you God. And that was a risk that he was apparently willing to take. Of course, you lose that momentary battle, the shallow battle of words and insults. But you get a chance to win the larger war, or at least a slightly larger battle than that one there. We are all a little garbage human on the inside. We need to stop the gay frogs, drain the swamp, say no to Shrek. Dear God, Boons, the shit posting is real, my friend. Then there is guerrilla and Sneck warfare. Guerrilla is Guerilla, guerrilla, but not the point. Yes, losing the battle. Grand strategy is the art of looking beyond the battle and calculating ahead. It requires that you focus on your ultimate goal and plot to reach it. Let others get caught up in the twists and turns of the battle, relishing their little victories. Grand strategy will bring you the ultimate reward, the last laugh. Sure appears by this point that Sargon has this, and if this was a conscious effort by Sargon to bait Sarkeesian into doing something, and he's said in his interview with Tim Pool that he's just there to go to his panels, go to the items, and listen, and conduct himself as any of the other attendees would. He's there to meet people that he only knows from online, attend a few panels, have some fun, and go home. However, if he did set out that day with the intent of baiting Sarkeesian, and knowingly did not respond in anger to her immature tirade, well, grand strategy was definitely at play. Also in the mix would have been the know your enemy intelligence strategy. The target of your strategy should be less the army you face and the mind of the man or woman who runs it. If you understand how that mind works, you have the key to deceiving and controlling it. Train yourself to read people, picking up their signals they unconsciously send about their innermost thoughts and intentions. I think we've all been doing this for years with Sarkeesian. And in Sargon, looking back at kind of where Anita got her starts from, definitely knows the angles she's going to try to take. I don't think Anita Sarkeesian has put in the effort or time to consider, honestly at the very least, Sargon's motives, or how he's come to the positions he finds himself in currently. And of course, this strategy is no more exemplified than by the progressive loss with Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. Whole bunch of people on one side threw on blinders, blocked everyone, blocked out all disagreement, if you will, and was shocked when they lost. They had no feelers out there. They had no means of gathering intelligence. However, the conservatives and the agitators just looking to shake things up and flip the table, as Sargon put it, that was with his Rubin interview, they knew what was going on. They were quite willing to examine it openly and honestly, and knew, because they had the intelligence and the information, how to confront it. I'm being asked what time zone I'm in by Bose, and I am in Eastern Standard Time. I think that's in my mentions. No, it's in my DMs. EST. I think it's GMT -4. Could be mistaken. Anyway, not the point. I'm getting sidetracked here. Control the dynamic forcing strategies. This is one that, if I had just stated it, forcing strategies or controlling the dynamic, Sargon wasn't really in control of the dynamic when the incident took place. That was fully up to VidCon. VidCon had control over that. And because of the position of power, if you will, in which she found herself as the featured speaker, Sarkeesian controlled a lot of that dynamic. She had the opportunity to change that room into whichever attitude or position she wanted. She chose to go the very angry reactionary route, and we've all seen how that's worked out here. But as a summary, Green states, people are constantly struggling to control you. The only way to get the upper hand is to make your play for control more intelligent and insidious. Instead of trying to dominate the other side's every move, work to define the nature of the relationship itself. Maneuver to control your opponent's minds, pushing their emotional buttons and compelling them to make mistakes. And this is absolutely evident when we see Sargon shows up, plays by the rules, but even within the rules, he situates himself at the front of the room, guaranteed to be noticed, and guaranteed to be noticed constantly throughout the event. Sarkeesian, and I don't know to what end of the panel this occurred, but regardless, from the time that she sat down to the time that Carl left, she had to witness him directly there and know that he was there. This is the tag at the back of your shirt that you can't quite get rid of that itch. It just never goes away until you just remove it entirely. And gonna have a guest here. My buddy Browncoat Bose is popping in. And Rules of Power, Strategies of War. Is there a similar link? Yes, same author. All right, I'll get this this hangout started and start bringing some people in, because I did want to have this as a larger discussion. I'm going to use my standard JT Viper as opposed to anything else, and I don't know how the audio is going to be when this pops in, so I apologize if this gets crazy. Da-da-da. There we go. All right. I got everything here. Yeah, still going fine. Still going strong. 4 people watching. By the way, hello everyone, and I would love to get comments in the chat. So if you have a take on this, please let me know. I want to visit VidCon one day. Boons, that is one of my goals for next year. The only time I read is in video games, anime subbed when I watch it. Manga weeb intensifies. Boons, I would absolutely recommend the 33 Strategies of War. I have it on audiobook, so I'm kind of lazy in that sense. I just prefer to listen to it, absorb it that way. And there we go. Anytime at all, it's live. All right. So yeah, no, definitely get a hold of this book. If you like, I think I can send you a free copy of it as like your first Audible book. If you want the audiobook, I can just, send it to you via email. That'll be, give you an option. Don't have to pay the money. Also, PDF is here. You can scroll through it at your leisure. Bose will be here momentarily, or should be, I should say. Not sure if that message sent properly. Should have. Definitely should have. All right. So there's that. Were we on? Know your enemy, control dynamic, hit them where it hurts, center of gravity strategy. Everyone has a source of power on which he or she depends. When you look at your rivals, search below the surface for that source, the center of gravity that holds the entire structure together. Hitting them there will inflict disproportionate pain. Find what the other side most cherishes and protects. That is where you must strike. VidCon has definitely been a home and a hotbed. And again, this was mentioned as well by Tim Pool. A hotbed for progressives to gather a lot of lifestyle bloggers, a lot of the really super popular prank channels, and just a lot of the lighter stuff. A lot less of the culture war. Just a saturation of a certain side. And ShitCon 2017 definitely changed a lot of that. And to everyone all the creators who posted all the content and little insights, little clips into the life of ShitCon 2017, thank you very much from someone who couldn't be there. It was really, really, really fun to watch and listen in on. But yes, hitting them where it hurts. Well, of course, nothing hurts more than to be publicly ridiculed. To be attacked and to have your public standing, especially as a public figure like Sarkeesian, to have your public standing undermined. And again, this one only comes into play because Sarkeesian took her little took a little detour from the panel. If she hadn't, there would not be not be a heck of a lot of options for Sargon to pursue. But she did what was probably the least advisable course of action. Took the least advisable course of action in openly freaking out on him and calling him a garbage human. And you could tell from the crowd instantly, the second she said, you're a garbage human. You don't do this and be a garbage human. The crowd groaned. The panel audience like, oh, because they realized that she could sit there and say, yeah, you've made a bunch of videos about me, all saying the same thing, which is ironic for her, of course. But again, not thinking clearly, presence of mind, strategy earlier, and I'll cover the strategic failings of each side, or at least the strategies that were ignored by each side in a bit. She flipped out and gave him the perfect way to really drive home at any credibility she claimed to still have, and especially at the one central point that has been the core of Anita Sarkeesian's existence, personally, financially, professionally, over the last number of years, which has been her victim status. I think we all know this by now. You see, she has made her money off of being the poor, woe-begotten feminist besieged by men's rights activists and evil misogynists. All that jazz. The second that she used her position of power on that panel stage to attack someone who in that moment had no power or immediate recourse, Sargon sitting in the audience, she completely invalidated her victim narrative. And I don't think it could have come at a better panel. Going on about harassment or, all the shit that she has to face and whatnot. And then turning around and just dumping a boatload of shit on somebody in the audience. She really, really should have thought that through. So there's that. Anyway, moving forward. Defeating them in detail, the divide and conquer strategy. Now this one may not seem like it plays in very well. But never be intimidated by your opponent's appearance. Instead, look at the parts that make up the whole. By separating the parts, sowing dissension and division, you can bring down even the most formidable foe. When you are facing troubles or enemies, turn a large problem into a small, eminently defeatable parts. So, what do? Do you try and take down Sarkeesian in one giant blow? No, and of course this functions in with the fait accompli strategy, taking small bites. But you divide the person up. You subdivide the person into different areas. You can go after her videos, you can go after her character, you can go after her education or her past. You can take on a number of different targets, defeating each one separately. And in this case, he decided, I shouldn't say he decided, because again, I can't attribute any conscious thought to this, or pre-planning, but in his response to Anita's tirade, Sargon definitely singled out the victim status narrative, victimhood narrative, and plugged away at it. By the rules of the convention, you can't do this. You are abusing somebody, yada yada yada, abusing power and privilege. So he had that option. He undermined a central facet of her identity, if you will, of her existence. And was able to defeat that as opposed to trying to defeat her as a monolith, as one giant entity all at once. My cat is going to drive me insane. He keeps jumping up here. Down you go. Food's down there. So, aside from cat interruptions, let's move on to expose and attack your opponent's soft flank, the turning strategy. I think this one is self-evident. When you attack people directly, you stiffen their resistance and make your task that much harder. You also lose PR. By not openly attacking Sarkeesian, Sargon avoids just creating this giant defensive wall, and instead allows her to leave her defenses and then come out to attack him, much like, I want to say it was General Wolfe. Wolfe v. Montcalm. The Battle of Canada on the Plains of Abraham. Montcalm sitting in Quebec City. It's a walled city. And he goes, all right, all we have to do is wait for the first ship in the spring after the thaw, and we can hold out. They can't. They have to wait outside the walls. They don't have don't have the defenses, don't have the amenities. We'll win. Could say that. Nope, Montcalm decides to go out and face Wolfe's troops in direct combat, gets obliterated. He had a numerically inferior force, if I'm not mistaken, and still charged out to meet them on the plains. Don't know why. In this case, Sarkeesian, up on the panel, doesn't have to remark on it, doesn't have to say a word to Sargon. But she left behind her fortifications and took a swing. Swing was dodged, swing was then used to beat the hell out of her. But in any case, there's a better way. Distract your opponent's attention to the front, then attack them from the side where they least expect it. Bait people into going out on a limb, exposing their weakness, then rake them with fire from the side. Well, soft flank, victimhood narrative, and the way to get at it is to show her actions in contrast with VidCon's code of conduct rules. I don't think Sarkeesian figured that he would go in that direction. Hey, Bose, how's it going? We are, I've currently made my way through here to number 18 in Green's list, as far as strategies Sargon employed.
I can't hear you talking.
You can't hear me talking?
No, I can hear you talking in here, but not on your...
Stream?
Yeah, I don't hear anything on there.
That's really weird. My mic auxiliary is picking up. 1 second. Desktop audio 2, properties... Yeah, it's definitely my... Chat, can you hear me? Type 1 if you can hear me. Because it's showing up on my OBS. You're fine. Okay, Andersama's got it. So it's got to be a you thing, dude. It's got to be a you thing. I know that Hangouts causes your computer to lower the volume of other programs, but if you're here, you don't need the stream. So that's...
Yeah, but I'm not on my computer to talk to you. I have to go through my tablet because I'm too damn dumb to figure out how to...
Oh, yes, all of that. Shit. Then I have no idea.
It says that you've got one waiting, but I think that's me.
One way. Oh, you're on my. That's why you're on my main channel where I posted that. I posted a correction to it. It's I got that community guidelines, that bullshit community guidelines strike. I'm actually on my second channel, my gaming channel, to do this, and I'll just download it and move the video over when I'm done. I'll send you the link here. I'm gonna repost it. And I'll even and I
wondered why I didn't hear you talking.
The hashtag garbage human incident from a strategic perspective. There we go. You'll get a notification in a second. Yeah, YouTube reasons. It says that I was fine to do a live stream. Normally it would say like you can't stream right now, you have a guideline strike. It wasn't working through OBS, so I figured I'd just switch it over, and I knew that for a fact that my gaming channel worked, and that's where we find ourselves now. There we go. So yeah, gotten through the majority of them. As a recap, do you have have you read 33 Laws of 33 Laws of Power? Jeez, 48 Laws of Power and 33 Strategies of War. They're both Robert Greene.
No, I have read excerpts, but I have not actually read them yet. I just got the 33 Strategies of War, and I'm gonna need to get the other one as well. I've heard people talking about it for a couple of years, but I've just been kind of restricted by monetary funds.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I think I got it as the first, like, my free audiobook for an Audible trial. And I was just like, yeah, loved it.
That's when I got the Audible trial. I went in, and because it seems like I forget how many tokens or whatever it was.
Credits.
Yeah, and I think it was like 5 or 7 or something like that.
Hmm.
And I looked for because I like classic literature, and I thought I'm going to get the most for this free thing.
Yo, yeah.
So I got the collected works of Arthur Conan Doyle, the collected works of William Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Uh,
I always use the credits for like the long or like the pricey books, and then I work the rest of it.
well, these were books that were normally like close to $200. One of them was, I think. I think Shakespeare was like close to $200.
Hmm.
And I was like, yeah, I'm that kind of asshole.
Hey, that's the system there
You
for.
tell me it's free, I'm gonna act like it's free.
I'm gonna make sure that free counts. But yeah, so the ones
I definitely want to get these 2 books.
the PDF is actually in the description.
Yeah, I got the PDF for the 33 Strategies of War.
Mhm.
I need to get the one for the 40.
I don't know if I had the 48 Laws of Power PDF, but I could probably email you. I could probably email you it through Audible. Like
That'd be cool.
as a free book, I'll be like, yeah, I'll just like send you that. You'll be like, okay, try it out as Audible.
I think you can loan each other books on Audible, so
We'll figure that out.
I'll check and see. Yeah,
We'll get that rolling. But what I've covered so far is basically the strategies that Sargon that either worked in Sargon's favor or that he employed himself. Once he posted the video, there was like conscious thought that I can actually attribute to it.
Mhm.
But before that, it's just a dude went to a panel. Did he know there was a pretty good likelihood that they didn't want it? Like, she didn't want to see his face? Probably, yeah. But there's no restraining order. There's no reason saying he can't do it. He's paid his money, gets to go. And he never didn't do anything to outright provoke her. So there's that. But in any case, the first strategy of the entire thing is declare war on your enemies, known as the polarity strategy, which is basically in your own head saying, yes, I am at war in some way, shape, or form. These are my enemies. Something, actions need to be taken. And we know that Sargon and Sarkeesian, that fits very, very well, by the way. Though I don't ship it. I've said it a few times already. Some do, I don't. They recognize the fact they're in a culture war. They realize what they're doing. I think Sarkeesian's a little less invested in it, in the cultural side. Financially, yes. Well, yes, financially that's her game, but from an ideological standpoint, it's not her thing. I don't think it's her fight. I think she's seen the opportunity to make money.
Oh yeah.
Right, and has used that, but I don't think it's a.
You don't think that she's a true
No,
believer?
no, she's not. She's not willingly drinking the Kool-Aid. She's not gunning it out with the FBI at Waco. That's just not happening, right? I don't see her as the one pulling the trigger. I see her as the one who's there because,
Someone who wants somebody to pull the trigger.
in a way, I think it's even more.
Strikes me as the type that is perfectly fine with things going sideways as long as it doesn't directly affect her.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, as long as she isn't out of pocket or.
That's the thing. She has to be able to financially gain from it. That's the big deal.
And frankly, I think that she has gotten to the point where I consider her a con artist.
Oh, she is. Oh, absolutely. She said she's going to produce a certain number of videos.
About that.
Yep.
She, as many times as she has told people this money that you're giving, and I've called her on it on Twitter before. I've been like, didn't you tell people that you were going to make X amount of videos?
X number of videos, had a list of all the different ones, and didn't do them all. And her own fans, yeah, her own fans who have given her money are like, where are the videos? And now she's on a new series, and they're still like, where are the other videos we paid you for? But attacking her is not the, or her actions is not the.
That's the problem.
Can't be taken down. But yeah, so the polarity strategy. Second one is the counterbalance strategy, which is don't lose your sense of presence. Don't lose your presence of mind. And Sargon employed this one, whether or not he knew it at the time, by not responding in anger. Right? Sat there, took the heat, she dished it all out, and he just kind of sat there like, I'm just trying to have a discussion here, like I'm here to listen to you. And she kept going. It's like, whatever, fine. Didn't.
Makes a bully angrier than you ignoring them.
Right? Or at least
or politely acknowledging them.
Yeah.
I found that winds some people up real quick. If somebody's being an absolute bastard to you and you kill them with kindness, it's very professional. Because I've had to work in security for so many years, and I mean like corporate security and well, security guard security, which sucked, but
Yeah.
private security, that kind of thing. You learn really quick that you have to deal with some people in a very professional manner in order to get them under control.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes it's fun to do it just to piss them off.
Just to really dig.
Yeah, I mean, when somebody is like turning purple in your face, acting like a like a drill sergeant,
Mm.
and you're like, "Sir, I understand."
This is that security guard with the Instagram famous model.
Yeah, I love that guy.
Fucking kill yourself. Da, 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 da. I just care about people.
Fucking beer. If I
Like,
ever meet that guy,
yeah.
I will be buying him a beer.
So, oh, he'll probably be at the next VidCon. He'll probably be a panelist at the next goddamn VidCon. Just a,
prick or the security guard.
I hope the security guard. Just be like, yeah, I face, I
deal with online bullying. You
right.
sit there, you laugh at them, and you move.
Yeah.
On.
But yeah, so we had that one. There's the perfect economy strategy, which is Sargon risking nothing essentially and going to the panel and opening up a ton of opportunities. One of which probably I can't imagine. Excuse me, to be honest, a better outcome for him.
Oh, me neither.
Her freaking out like that was just okay. That's what makes me so confused. Is that like she's not stupid. All right, she's not a dumb individual. You don't get where she's gotten without a certain degree of intelligence. Are her arguments shit? Yes, for the most part, they're crap. However, you don't make hundreds of thousands of dollars by, applying a victim narrative without knowing what you're doing. Right? You have to have a certain level of emotional intelligence to pull that off. And it really surprises me that she lashed out like that in public, right? Because she ought to know how bad that PR was going to be. That or she thinks she's immune at this point. Like, she has to think she's completely above reproach.
She thinks she's a Mary Sue. She thinks that she's invulnerable. She thinks that somehow the story of her life has these little plot twists and plot holes that will keep her safe, and on the right side of history is that's an actual thing in every instance.
Yeah.
She really has. She made her own Kool-Aid and drank it, and I truly believe she thinks that she is above reproach. That she's been to the UN.
Yeah, but that was and then she goes, and the harassment's not just the illegal versus the legal and all that. It's the daily grind. If you suck, you're a liar, you're a fraud.
Welcome to Earth, sweetheart.
And she turns around and goes, "You're a garbage, being a garbage human." And I'm like,
I'll be honest with you. My first thought was, "Oh, you hypocrite."
Yeah, but it was
right into old school Christian mode. I was like,
that was so
hypocrite,
But that was so much of a 180. Like, you have to.
It was fucking ambrosia.
You don't get to walk backwards through your own footsteps without looking at them. Do you know what I mean?
Very well put. Did you make that up?
It just kind of, yeah. You don't get to walk backwards through your own footsteps without looking where you're putting your foot. Otherwise, you create a new fucking step. She literally trampled exactly on her own footsteps.
I'm gonna write that down.
Well, thank you. I have moments. Huh?
You can't walk backwards.
You can't walk backwards through your own footsteps without looking where you're going. You can't. Can't be done. That, again, Mary Sue. You're either the luckiest, most divinely touched person in the world, right?
Right.
Or you have to look where you're going, right? So there's that. Counterattack strategy, that one's pretty pretty evident. He basically let her blow her stack, waited it all out, and then shows up and goes, "Yeah, by the way, you violated code of conduct. You deserve, by rules of an institution that really does favor you, for the most part, to be booted." And he had every right to petition, and everyone goes, "Oh, it's deplatforming." No. It is asking that rules be applied evenly. Even if you don't like the rules, right? If I don't think fighting should be a big issue in hockey, right? If I think maybe it should be like a 2-minute as opposed to a sit for a 5, right? If I get into a fight with somebody, I have every right to deem that they need to be put in the penalty box for 5 minutes, same as I do.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I get the opportunity to say, no, all things being equal, you gotta, you make your bed, you gotta lie in it.
I
So
like
you,
the idea of going till first blood.
well, that's,
Let them go till first blood, and then put them in the penalty box.
then stop them.
Once a nose starts flowing, call it off. But until a tooth is gone or somebody's bleeding,
Yeah.
stop that fight.
So there's that. We've also covered boxing. Well, you should watch lacrosse, but that's a discussion for another day. I will say this though, I have seen a proper guy used to be a former cop. Used to play for the Toronto Rock. This would have been back in the early 2000s, 2003, 2004. Guy used to be a police officer, right? And started playing lacrosse instead. And this guy,
I couldn't figure out what the hell I was watching, but I liked it.
this one guy, I remember that their uniforms were orange and gray and black, and he had these dreads flowing at the back of his helmet. And guy looked like an absolute beast. And they squared up. There was a dirty hit, and Rock player gets up, and they're gonna drop him. And the second he does, you watch the stance he took, and you just knew the guy was in for it, right? So helmets come off, and the hands come out, and I want to say it was a Bandits player. I could be mistaken, but again, I'm going way off on this one into the weeds. Buffalo Bandits, yeah, I think it was the Buffalo Bandits. It was Buffalo or is it a place out west like Calgary, but gotta go to images. Oh yeah, it was. I know. Okay. So anyway, not the point. But man, did he ever get plowed in the face by the first three fists. It was like he was like waving his hands around, like bopping back and forth and whatnot, went to hit him. And
all of a sudden just a wall of
the Toronto, he just was like sitting there and he wasn't barely moving, right? But you could see he was like tensed up, right? From like, tip to toe. And the second the guy hit him, all he did was just step into it, past the hand, grabbed him on like the shoulder of the jersey up above the shoulder pad, and just started drilling him. It was brutal.
his trigger worked out.
Oh yeah, he knew
there's kind of a concept in dealing with violent people. If you know that you're going to have to deal with violent people, a lot of times people recommend that you basically learn a mental trigger, almost like when basketball players talk about being in a zone, or any other sportsman talks about being in the zone. The idea is that you're running on autopilot. You're not there.
Oh, total reflex.
And it's the same thing with a triggering mechanism in your mind. The idea of, okay, once a person is pushed to this point, I have to stop it quick, and try not to let anybody get killed in the process.
Yeah, he just, I don't know, man. He definitely knew what he was doing when he started throwing hands, and that just. So yeah, for folks who are watching, we're getting back to the strategy. But if you want to watch a really, really interesting sport, the NLL is on Twitter. They do live stream games, which is phenomenal. And you don't even need to like pay to watch them. It's basically like hockey, but it's ball movement. Ball movement is faster. I would say the athleticism is even greater, and it's a lot rougher. But moving on, we covered the counterattack strategy, polarity strategy, counterbalance, and perfect economy. Grand strategy was the next one up, which is of course losing battles, winning the war, seeing the greater picture, if you will. Sarkeesian definitely ignored that in her. She won that battle. I would say she won the battle. She got to call him out, got to have her moment there, and got to just vent at him, vent her spleen. And for most of her little rant, the crowd cheers or claps and is all supportive. Right until she called him a garbage human, and you could hear the groan.
Yeah, it was like, okay.
Oh, like you should. Yeah, you crossed the line. Like you can say that your videos say the same old shit. That's fine, right? You can say you've made all these videos about me, yada yada yada. Yep, that's fine, accurate. You're a garbage human. Now we're into pure insults. Now you fucked up. And Sargon sits there and goes, "Yeah, I'll take the verbal lashing. I'll take this bit of public humiliation, right?" But after that moment, he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to come back and I'm going to beat you with it." Was basically what he did, and I think he's won this war. There is really no way for Sarkeesian to come back from that. Her options are basically act like it never happened and hope it goes away, right? Which if anyone's got half a brain, they won't let it. Or,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I said she can either hope it goes, or she can apologize. She can say,
Oh, that's not gonna happen.
no, I know, but those are her two options. She can either hope it goes away or apologize, because it's not going to do it if she even comes anywhere near it again.
See, I've been of the opinion on the whole SJW versus anti-SJW thing is that a lot of those of us who consider ourselves anti-SJW and I mean so far as like when I say SJW, I mean the same thing that Sargon does.
Mm.
Someone who takes the victim narrative and weaponizes it.
You watched that Ruben interview, didn't you?
No, I haven't watched his interview yet. I watched a little vlog that he did
Mm.
while he was at VidCon where he just couldn't sleep.
Oh, okay. Because he does stay. He goes, yeah. He goes, I don't.
Basically, weaponizing victimhood.
Yes, it's the tactics, not the ideology. He doesn't care about the political leaning. It's the tactics employed in order to affect it.
Precisely. And my thoughts on it are like from the get-go. Every time I have seen somebody try to like take someone down in the press, or like the Wall Street Journal going after oh god, I'm having a brain fart. Who the hell was it Chris at the Wall Street Journal went after, or no, that was the New York Times. New York Times when they went after Chris Ray Gun.
Oh God. Yeah. Lacey Green.
Yeah, and all of these people that are from a leftist standpoint, like the far left Marxist stack standpoint, are in a position of power, striking downward, like they always talk about punching down, but they're striking down someone who is not in a position of power.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the funny thing about that is a lot of the people on the anti-SJW side are fellow geeks and nerds.
Mm-hmm.
They're familiar with Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
And every single time something like that happens, all I can think of is Ben Kenobi saying, "If you strike me down, I will become more powerful than you can ever imagine."
They like to all these. They quote their Harry Potter, and they like to think it gives them nerd cred. Oh my God.
I got through half of Harry Potter so that I could shut my nephews up.
I've read it all except for like the second half of the last book. I know.
I didn't get through the first one. I grew up on A Wrinkle in Time and Support Your Local Wizard and Sherlock Holmes, the Hardy Boys, frickin' The Call of the Wild.
Mm.
If I could do anything to like help boys, I would give them the books that I grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of the adventure fiction that was kind of geared toward young boys and young men at the turn of the last century was all about toughening up,
Mm-hmm.
or developing like what Razor Fist talks about, that psychic armor,
Mm-hmm.
where you build up kind of a mental callus where shit doesn't get to you.
Yeah, and that's what would help. That helps with of course, the presence of mind that we spoke about earlier, which is the whole. You don't wind up losing your shit because it doesn't dig you that deep,
Right. They can't cut you that deep because you're already wearing armor.
Mm-hmm.
You're
not getting through it.
Stiletto and you're wearing, plate mail.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
yeah. I'll take the slings and arrows all day. You're not getting through this.
Yeah.
So where are we on to next? We covered that intelligence strategy, which is basically knowing more about your enemy and how to defeat them than they know about you. To an extent, self-evidence once you know the summary of the strategy. Of course, Sargon didn't know how she was going to reply, but knew enough that her victimhood narrative was an integral part of her existence, and especially her professional existence. How the fuck was I not following the YouTube Saints on Twitter? All right, that irritates me. Anyway,
It vexes you.
Enough of that. Forcing strategies, which is odd. It says controlling the dynamic, and I thought that was one that some people might disagree with. But I think Sargon really did put himself in a position to control that dynamic. Which seems odd because, of course, VidCon has its own rules, and Anita's up there on a platform, right? And she gets to say how she wants to act. But in him showing up, Sargon has, I guess, agreed to the presenter / audience member dynamic. The theater goer versus the actor, if you will. And he didn't have to be there. she did. If she signed on to be there, she's got to be there, right? Leaves this opportunity open. He gets to say whether or not he wants to engage. And by adhering to the rules laid out by VidCon and by going, entirely within his rights to be there and in the seat he was in and everything else, while the rules of the game have been laid out, the moves that get made are very, very much controlled by Sargon's actions. So
Can be played.
Yeah.
I mean, you can improve your chances on a game of chance if you know how it works to some extent.
See, I think she probably could have given him a pretty good lashing.
She just had to be polite about it.
Yes, but there were other.
There's a guy right up here in the front of the audience that
Mhm.
gives me grief online all the time.
Yep.
I don't like it.
Yep.
It's hurtful.
Yep.
It's mean.
And she could say, well, he has every right to be here. He doesn't need to be in that seat. And that there,
Yeah, I could kind of maybe. Yeah.
that there would have been a win for her.
He's baiting me just by sitting where he's.
Yes. Everyone here should know it, right? It's not, no one's got to suspend disbelief to do it. Everyone knows that him choosing to sit front row, right? He could say he's really that interested in what's going to get said, right? But you can hear that anywhere in the auditorium. I actually had a moment like this myself, and it's a childish move, and it no. Here,
I don't know if I'd call it a childish move.
Hear me out.
It is provocative.
Yes, but hear me out.
Not archly provocative.
I think it's needlessly provocative. I've been there myself. I had this.
Needs more provoking.
I was dating this girl. She's she's a year and a half younger than I was, but put her 2 grades behind me because I'm an early baby. Anyway.
You get to go early in school because you're preemie?
No. I was a February baby, so if you take a year and a half, you wind up yeah.
Stupid rule down here.
Yeah, 2 academic years behind, basically. If anyone wants to learn about why that's so fucked up, Malcolm Gladwell's book Outliers is a fantastic one for just that. Even if you just get that information from it, but that's not neither here nor there. I had already graduated. I'm, of course, I'm coming back from uni, and I came back to the open house that the school puts on. There's a big musical production for it. The band, like kind of an exposition sort of thing, to showcase the different clubs and whatnot that the school offers for like prospective students. And I was sitting front row center, like right on the aisle, and the only thing I had done is I'd given up the aisle seat to a gentleman who was in a wheelchair. And it was like, if in case you need to exit the back of the thing, like the aisle was there, kind of thing. I'm like, yeah, you know what, all yours. So I was front row and the 3rd seat in from the aisle, and there was another boy who was still there, hated my guts, and I knew he hated me. There was a whole long backstory to that. There was not going to be any love lost no matter what. And I knew that if I sat right there at the front, I got there early. I sat down. I made sure I was like right there, and I had all the pretenses of legitimacy. I was saving a seat for my best friend's mom and obviously my girlfriend's father, who was going to be there. And so I had a reason to be there early and whatnot. But I knew that deep down I was really there to kind of, dig that in once more, let it be known that I wasn't going to be backing down from this issue, whether or not I was still there. But that I didn't care anymore and that I was going to, be coming on top. And, well, I definitely got the confrontation that I figured I was going to get. I didn't handle it as well as Sargon did. Youthful ignorance, I suppose. But when I look back at it, I could have sent the same message, right? But impacted more people to a lesser degree than what I did by sitting somewhere else in the audience. They would have known I was there no matter what. Word would have spread that I was there, and word definitely would have spread that Sargon of Akkad was in the audience for Anita Sarkeesian lecture, or if she was, I guess, featured panelist or whatever. She was going to know. Yeah, but no matter where he was in that auditorium, as long as he was there, right, she was going to know he was there, right? But being right front and center overplays the hand a bit. To me, it's just a little too heavy-handed.
I'm kind of on two minds of the subject. Excuse me. Partly because on one hand, have you ever read Murphy's Laws of Combat?
No, but I understand Murphy's Law.
Well, there's just this little short, it's like a page called
Hmm.
Murphy's Laws of Combat, and I first saw them in a book years ago. But I took a lot of them to heart, even though I've never been in the military.
Hmm.
There are good. There's always good advice to be found in strategy,
Hmm.
and one of Murphy's laws of combat is how is it? Being conspicuous, standing out draws fire.
Yes.
And there is some truth to
Don't
that.
look conspicuous; it draws fire.
There are times when you want to draw fire.
Hmm.
And I think that what Sargon did was a very quiet application of drawing fire. He knew that if and all the Sith Lords knew because apparently they talked it over beforehand. They were like, "Look, no giggling, no acting like an ass.
Yeah.
We're all going to sit there and be respectful
Hmm.
and be the people that they don't want us to be."
Yep. They want easy targets. We're not going to give it to them.
Precisely. And by doing that, they were like, "Okay, yes, we are making a stand here. We are going to stand on this hill and let them know we're here.
Yeah.
But we're not going to do anything because the point is to see how they react. The ball's in their court. We are standing on the firing line.
Mm.
We're waiting to see if they fire."
Well, in that case, I guess I can attribute a certain degree of conscious thought to it in ahead of time now.
Because I really do believe that Sargon is a little bit of a fourth dimensional chess type player.
Oh, I know he knows grand strategy. He referenced this book in his discussion with Dave Rubin, even though he was too jet lagged and drunk to know it, to remember the title. He's like, the 33, it was a 33 something, it's Robert Greene, and I'm like, 33 Strategies of War. Damn it, Sargon. Just watching that earlier.
Yeah, see, Sargon is how I got into watching All.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't.
I think Teal Deer was actually my first, to be honest.
I don't know Adam Baldwin well enough to like be on his Christmas card list or
Mm.
anything, but we've hung out once and we talk online, and
Oh, that's cool.
If I see an interview with him, I want to see it.
Oh, he mentioned Sargon, didn't he? Or Gamergate, at least.
On Sargon. He went on Sargon.
Oh shit, you're right, he did.
And I was bored one day and I just got done watching Firefly again, and thought, I'm going to see if Adam's done any interviews, and pulled up Adam Baldwin interviews on YouTube, and there was Sargon of Akkad, and I was like, holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
This is cool. I like this guy. They're saying in the chat that I'm muffled.
You're muffled. Okay, I'll bring you up on the levels here. All right, talk again.
One, check two. How's it going?
Once, not quite. I'm gonna have to adjust this on my volume here. Let's drop my volume down to minimum and then bring you up.
There once was a man from Nantucket. His dick was so long he could fuck it.
Twitter notifications. God damn it. Google Hangouts. You're going to be like super low now, but that's neither here nor there. Hangouts call. Speak. All right, try again.
Hello.
Okay, so it's definitely louder. And can I get a check 1, 2, 3?
Check 1, check 2, check 1, check 2. Siblings.
Okay. So that.
Red leather, yellow leather.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna leave that there. That should work. It basically makes me have to set all my shit weird. All right, chat. Let me know. Because I'm seeing where you spike now. I'm about 2/3 the audio bar, and so Peter Piper.
How's it sound?
You're still low. I'm gonna bring myself down. I'm gonna bring myself down, way on down, so that I'm matching where you're normally coming to. Individuals watching, you'll be able to safely turn up your headphones at this point. All right.
Check. It never dawned on me I could just unmute myself and see what it sounds like.
Yeah, that would work. Check. You just have the moment or two.
Wow, now it's really, really quiet.
Yeah, I know it should shift through. I forgot the chat was there, to be honest. High Octane, see you there. I'll the other guy's voice. Shit. Muffled 1-1. He's muffled. Care about the people so much. I want you to fucking kill yourself. That was the fucking Instagram kid. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry everybody for the bad link. That is all YouTube. YouTube. It should be good now.
I can't hear you. I've got my computer turned all the way up and.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Okay, so I don't know how to get your volume up any more than it already is, without blowing out my eardrums.
Here. Oh, wait a second. You just went up.
Yeah.
I don't know how to get your volume up any more than it already is, without blowing out my eardrums.
All right, so that should do it.
Okay. Yeah.
That's as good as I can get it because yeah, I'm using OBS, Andrew Sama.
I don't.
All right, so that should do it. Filter gain.
Yeah, I'm not coming through at all.
Ah, for fuck's sake, audio, headset microphone. I'm not getting a filter option here for OBS, filtering gain. Maybe properties. Oh, filters, okay. Add gain. Hangouts. Okay. And all right, give me some just letters of the alphabet.
The quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog.
All right.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
All right. I think I've made a difference here.
Give me some just letters of the alphabet.
All right.
All right.
You're coming through slightly better, at least.
All right. I think I've made a difference here. Check.
There we go. Thank you, Andrew Sama. Looks like we're good.
All right.
I've literally got his gain up as high as it can be.
Hold on. Let me try moving this stupid little microphone to see if that makes any difference.
Oh, there we go. Okay, that'll do it.
I've literally got his gain up as high as it can be.
I know my shit. Damn right you do. Yeah,
that makes a big difference. Okay.
Oh yeah, there we go.
All right.
All right.
I'm using a shitty little headset mic because I'm too dumb to figure out how to use my computer to go on Hangouts.
No worries. But we've got the echo will stop when he turns off his mutes the stream. Okay. So that should have solved that. I think we're okay now. I'm still getting a little bit of something in the back from you, but I don't know why.
Oh, hold on. Let me try turning off this box fan.
Maybe no, I'm hearing myself through you.
Oh.
I'm hearing my own.
I don't know what that is.
My own echo. That's weird. I'm gonna drop your gain just a little bit. I am sorry to everyone.
Let me know I don't want to be flushed.
All right. I've minimized that as much as I can. All right. It's probably just from my own audio channels, but either way, we've covered a lot of these. I think we'll move on for the ones we were at. Where was that? Envelop the enemy? No. Maneuver them into weakness. That was this one here. The ripening for the sickle strategy. No matter how strong you are, fighting endless battles with people is exhausting, costly, and unimaginative. Wise strategists prefer the art of maneuver. Before the battle even begins, they find ways to put their opponents in positions of such weakness that victory is easy and quick. Create dilemmas, devise maneuvers that give them a choice of ways to respond, all of them bad. I can't say that Sargon employed this perfectly. Not all of her options were bad, but she definitely had no overt win to be gained. She wasn't.
He had the. Sorry, go ahead.
She wasn't left with a. I can seize a victory here. I can just not lose. That was her option.
Well, he left her nothing but a Pyrrhic victory.
Pyrrhus, yeah.
Pyrrhic, thank you.
Pyrrhic victory.
Because it kind of makes me think a little bit of Sun Tzu when he talks about leaving an outlet for your enemy to escape.
Yeah.
And the whole purpose sometimes of that escape is to hem them in.
Yeah.
You know.
Just keep drilling it back to them. And so yeah, she had an option out. She just could have like
You
not
don't
said
want
anything.
you don't want the enemy to become desperate, because then they're a force of nature, basically.
And yeah, they'll fight as hard as they have to because it's an existence thing.
Yeah. But if you give them, it's like the old saying about give somebody enough rope to hang themselves and
They'll tie the knot.
tie the noose. Yeah.
So there's that. I think that one's pretty self-explanatory. Again, you're basically allowing them to make themselves an easier target, and Sargon definitely did that. She again, if she hadn't said anything, right, he could have been like, "Look, you want to speak about people harassing it. You say that I'm harassing you, and you had every opportunity in the book there to. Oh, you're getting a lot of wind out of you."
That was sorry. It's where I had the I had to set the microphone up over my nose, and it dropped under my nose, and that was me breathing on the microphone.
Okay, I was like, yeah, I was getting a lot of that. I was like, that has to stop.
You sound like that guy at the comic book store that
right,
has
yeah,
a deviated septum and
brutal asthmatic.
yeah.
So we've covered that one. Grand Street Rivers. So then we move from 20, and I think once we get down into here, I don't think there wasn't really an exit strategy, but nor did it need to exist during all that. And negotiating while advancing the diplomatic war strategy doesn't really apply to the exact tactics that were chosen. But for 23 and onward,
from her side though.
Oh yeah, no, from hers, yes, but it wasn't there for Sargon.
She wasn't trying to negotiate while advancing. She was
just trying to beat the hell out of somebody.
Just being a bitch on wheels.
Yeah. You know? So Green moves on from parts 23, I think, till the end. Part 5 is unconventional, otherwise known as dirty warfare. Not dirty in the thing of fighting dirty, but it's not a clean fight. It's not a cut and dry. Yeah, no.
There's nothing wrong with saying that.
No, fighting dirty lacks a certain sense of honor. It's more like murky. It's not as clear, right?
Like a Canadian.
It's murky, not dirty. It's like the water I swim in. It's like lake water. Lake water's not dirty. It's murky. Anyway, 25 is occupying the moral high ground, and this is one I mentioned earlier that they share. Oddly enough, not of course when she lost it, but occupying the moral high ground was something that they both tried to use in this. They both employed, and I shouldn't say with entire failure on her part, because obviously she gets to say, yeah, this guy's been harassing me. I have every right to call him out and whatnot. So that was definitely there. Didn't do it well, but definitely tried to employ it. In doing so, though, what Sargon did was that he can now claim, I have been the direct victim of harassment or at least a verbal assault by Anita Sarkeesian.
He gets to use their narrative against them.
Yes, and he gets to claim that more. He goes, I didn't do anything wrong by going there, which is true. I didn't do anything wrong with where I sat, which is technically true. The best kind of correct. Technically correct. The best kind of correct. And I was maligned by somebody on the panel stage, which is also true. He gets to pull all of the high ground there. She, however, on the other hand, does get to say this individual has made an endless series of videos. You know, they've referred back to me constantly, whatever. And within her own circles and within a lot of the normie circles, if you will, that still pulls a lot of weight. So she still gets to play with the moral high ground, but definitely doesn't maintain it. Doesn't own it, that's for sure. But I'm open to reconsideration on that one.
Well, I think it's in her, and I keep going back to Sun Tzu because that was the main strategy book that I grew growing up. But I'm trying to remember. I think shifting ground would maybe apply to her, because it basically, if you were looking at it from a purely just the standpoint of, say, high ground or moral high ground.
Yeah.
You'd basically be picturing archers on either side of a valley on the top of the hills.
Yeah, they're both firing at one another.
Right. But for some reason, she decided that it would be better to try a frontal assault, and by doing so, she went down
Ran into the valley.
and his arrows blotted out the sun.
And there
And
was
he
no
didn't even
room
have
to
fire.
meme it. Yeah, there was no room to
He
meme in
didn't
the
have to
shade.
fire the arrows because everybody knew that she was making a wrong decision by
Mhm.
going down into the valley, and it was up to him whether he fired or not. And by not firing, those watching the battle saw him as the moral high ground, because that's one of those things people don't understand about the concept of meekness.
Mm.
People hear the meek shall inherit the earth,
Mhm.
and people associate the term meek with weak,
Mhm.
and it's not the same thing. Meekness, real meekness, is controlled power. It's when you have the ability to attack your enemy and you decide not to.
Mm.
It's knowing it's the matter of not asking yourself, can I take this
Mm.
guy, but
Should I?
knowing that you can take this guy and deciding not to.
That's the was it grant me the
Grant
how
me the
was it?
serenity not to beat this motherfucker with a hammer.
Something like that. No,
They usually put it.
it was it grant me the strength to overcome my issues. Right, or sorry,
Oh, are
strength
you talking about the actual serenity prayer?
something along those lines.
God
Like,
grant me the serenity. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change,
yep, the power to
courage
change
to change the
that's
things
the
I
one.
can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Wisdom to know the difference, and that's where it's
And
at.
that's the most important part.
Yeah, it's because he
Knowing that
was
there's just some things that you cannot change. You don't, and I think if the SJWs would all learn that prayer, even if they don't believe in God, just take the words to heart.
just yeah.
Accept the things you can't change, change the things that you can change,
Yeah.
and understand that there is always a difference between those two.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're mutually exclusive.
I that one's always been big for me, but you can see it with Sargon when he he has
School alcoholic. I went through the program twice, both times.
he knows he can look at it and go like, yeah, I could lash back at her, right? This could become a fight as opposed to being an assault effectively, right? And by not swinging back at her immediately, he is able to put it as this was a one-sided incident. I didn't do anything, and yet she blew up at me.
Did you see the video where he basically just essentially posted a complaint?
Yes,
To
the one.
VidCon?
Yeah, the petitioning Hank and
Like,
John Green.
That's fucking epic.
Yeah, and that's what I mentioned earlier. I don't know what I was covered with.
Feet tickle a little bit.
That was part of the lose the battles and win the war, the grand strategy bit, the counterattack, of course, and presence of mind. That were those three really come into play there. Presence of mind not to lose his shit, the counterattack strategy where he actually hits her back, and what's the other one? Shit, perfect economy. Anyway, knew exactly how to go about doing that without undermining his own position. Even though a lot of people have gone off saying, "Oh, well, you called for her to be deplatformed," no, he called for her to have to play amongst the same rules as everyone else, and that's it. You can't just say, "Oh, I want all the benefits of the rules." Like, you can't do this to me, you can't do this to me, and say, "I can, I can still do that to you." You can't do it.
You step on the field, don't expect to not get tackled.
Right? You want to play the ball? Fine. Somebody else has the opportunity to play the body, and if you don't like that, you're in the wrong sport. So there's that one there. Occupy moral high ground. Where is it here? Ignored. That was the last two. Give your rivals enough rope to hang themselves. The one-upmanship strategy should be self-explanatory. Life's greatest dangers often come not from external enemies, but from our own supposed colleagues and friends who pretend to work for the common cause while scheming to sabotage us. Work to instill doubts and insecurities in such rivals, getting them to think too much and act defensively, making them hang themselves to their own self-destructive tendencies, leaving you blameless and clean. Now, of course, this one here refers to colleagues and friend. No, gaslighting is making people...
No, from a certain perspective, it's gaslighting. It's the idea of dropping the wrong honey in somebody's ear.
Sort of.
Basically, if you've got someone in your organization that is say, working with another company.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're talking, and the word corporate espionage sounds so much cooler than it is.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're dealing with someone in a company that is, say, taking software out of the
Mm-hmm.
company and giving it to a competitor,
Yeah.
the smart thing to do is to start feeding them bad software.
Yeah. As opposed, yeah, it's a
Especially if
double
they're
agent kind of concept.
right. I mean, basically, you take that person and make them a double agent. They
Yeah.
don't even know that they are one.
Yeah.
You
Well, that
start
was
putting
how.
bugs in the software, and you start putting little backdoors in the
Mm,
software. And next thing you know, you have all this information from being able to go through the back doors into your opponent's or into your competitor's system because they stole your information. You can now get into their system and see all the
mhm,
information that they stole and go to this person and say,
yeah.
look, we know what you did.
Mhm.
We're going to go to the oh, what are they oh, I don't remember what they call it up in Canada.
Doesn't matter.
um
What's the U.S. version?
the shit.
FTC, Federal Trade Commission.
Oh god, ever since I spent all that time in ICU, there's like a I have trouble finding words in my head. It drives me
FTC.
nuts.
I thought that's what you might
Yes,
have been going on.
FTC.
Federal Trade Commission.
Yeah, I mean, if you go to that person and say, "Look, we're going to go to the FTC. You're going to go to federal prison for a really long time. We need to know everything you do
Hmm.
in order to keep that from happening." Then you are in a position of power, and you can put that person in a position where they have to help you.
Yeah.
It,
So
it,
that's
if you have to fight dirty, really fight dirty.
yeah,
I've told people for years, don't don't uh, don't don't make the situation worse unless you know you can make it better.
yeah. If you're gonna fight that fight, be prepared to really fight that fight.
Right.
Um, but in this one, the rivals thing is that she's a colleague insofar as she's a YouTube content creator, right? We're all on the same plane. But no, he definitely gives her enough rope to hang herself. Gives her all the opportunities to just to really to demolish him without losing. As I mentioned, she could say he doesn't need to be in that specific seat. He makes all these videos about me. He wants to show up here and cause this. There was a way she could have played that, and it would not have been to Sargon's benefit. Everyone could still say, "Yeah, you're still a fraud for all this other shit," but in that instance, right? She would have been able to say, "Look, some basic sociological knowledge, and we know that him being here is a provocation, right? He has every opportunity to be here. I have every opportunity to acknowledge the fact that he's here for a very particular reason. Does it require some speculation? Yes, but nothing out of reason, or nothing that's beyond reason." She had an opportunity to really turn that on him in a way, but chose not to. Chose to go the full blown, just start swinging for the fences and hit dirty when you don't have to, and it buried her. Um,
She worked on emotion rather than on
yeah.
thought.
Mm-hmm. And counterbalance strategy hits again.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you, as someone who was very emotional as a child, when you finally get to the point where you realize that your emotions, you can't turn them off, but you can mute them.
Yeah, you can get around them sometimes. I like what the
Yeah,
Pepino said.
If it comes down to a situation where you have to think clearly,
Mm.
you can essentially click the switch and not use them.
Yeah,
You'll have to use them later.
but not right now.
You'll have to sit down and think about what happened, and then you'll have to deal with them. But for that moment, you can shut them down and say, okay, I have to think like a human and not like an animal.
The Pepino said, he goes, that strategy assumes they have the knowledge to tie the knot. Everyone.
There's some truth to that.
Yeah, but everyone has the knowledge. Everyone has the ability. They just don't have to know they're doing it. It's almost better if they don't realize they're doing it. Like, strategy
is understanding that you can't plan for everything.
No.
You just plan for the things that you kind of can.
And the last one here that we have is 32 really does apply. I don't know why I had it on my list here, but 30 was penetrate their minds, communication strategies. Communication is a kind of war. It's field of battle, the resistant and defensive minds of the people you want to influence. The goal is to penetrate their defenses and occupy their minds. Learn to infiltrate your ideas behind enemy lines. sending messages through little details, luring people into coming to the conclusions you desire, and into thinking they've gotten there by themselves. They've gone through all this trouble and hassle to put in all this anti-harassment, anti-bullying stuff through the VidCon rules and whatnot, right? And then Sargon goes, okay, wonderful. Now those rules are hitting you, and you don't like that. Why don't you like that? Examine it, right? They have to ask themselves, why don't I like this? Why has this happened? Right? They're put somewhat in that position. But the last one here is dominate while seeming to submit, the passive aggression strategy. And again, just being there and sitting there calmly and, taking her verbal tirade. In a world where political considerations are paramount, the most effective form of aggression is the best hidden one. Aggression behind a compliant, even loving exterior, not quite going that far for Sargon. To follow the passive aggression strategy, you must seem to go along with people, offering no resistance. But actually, you dominate the situation. Just make sure you have disguised your aggression enough that you can deny it exists. And that's what I was mentioning earlier with the whole, I couldn't specify that there was conscious thought into this, right?
You know what what a good analog for that is, oddly enough?
Mm-hmm.
As odd as it sounds, BDSM.
Oh, the sub being the one in position of power.
The sub is the one in control.
Yeah.
The person that puts their head down and says, okay, in a situation like ours, like where there are laws that say no one is better than someone else.
Yeah.
Giving someone supplication so far as saying, you make the rules.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you know in the back of your mind, no, they're making arbitrary rules for the situation at hand.
Yeah.
Then they really have no control over you.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
No worries. No, it's
a bit of a squirrely spot. But.
No, it is a perfect analogy, or a perfect example, I should say, because everyone knows that there are certain laws you can't. Like otherwise, a lot of this stuff would constitute assault and whatnot. But
the Constitution is my safe word.
At a certain point, they basically have to say, yeah, this is what this is the power I'm permitting you to exercise, right? Yes, that exercise is going to be exercised upon me, but I'm the one saying you can do this, right? The power lies entirely with that person permitting things to occur. And so in this one here, he can say, if there wasn't the video saying, oh yeah, like we all have to be quiet, we know how this is going to go, and we know, if they acknowledge that going in openly, it's like, yeah, so you knew that there was a game being played. If they hadn't said that and hadn't coordinated that part of it, it would have been like, that should have been understood. Because Sargon has always said, don't contact these people, right? Don't go to their channels. Don't go to their videos. Don't, publish hate comments and whatnot.
And if you do, be polite.
Yeah, it's just like, his whole thing is like, I'd rather you didn't engage them at all, right? Yeah. Know their ideas are shit. Criticize their ideas somewhere else. Don't go to them, right? So he doesn't have to coordinate anything else. He can say these people acted on their own, right? Even if he was the quiet one, a bunch of the other, YouTubers were giggling or heckling or whatever, he can still say, I didn't do it, right?
He can honestly say, I didn't do it. He can say, look, I told them don't. I'm not their father. I can't make them. I can say, please don't, because that's as far as my responsibility goes in the situation.
But in this context, there's not really plausible deniability of what would happen. He can't say, I didn't realize that like my presence would be.
That wasn't the point.
No, but it in a way doesn't fully doesn't fulfill the passive aggression strategy. It does to an extent where he's not having to act as an open aggressor to get the desired result and to get other people to kind of self-destruct.
No, he opened it up where she could become the aggressor.
Mm-hmm. But
he essentially it's like when you're in a fight, a lot of times jabs. The reason jabs don't do a lot of damage is because they're not supposed to.
No, they're supposed to get the other person to open up a spot or to try and swing back.
Precisely.
Which opens it up. And that's why I say though.
A way for you to go in with the hard hit and knock them for a loop.
But that's where it says, when it says, just make sure you've disguised your aggression enough so that you can deny it exists. I don't think he has quite the deniability required to fully constitute this one. I think that the attempt at employment was there in this case. Not 100%. 80% at most. Like, yep, you didn't openly aggress towards the person, at least in as many words. But you can't deny that you knew what you were doing or why it was happening, kind of thing.
Well, no, and really, he hasn't denied that he knew. I mean,
Yeah.
everyone has said,
Mhm.
yeah, we knew it would probably rustle some jimmies, but maybe some jimmies needed to be rustled, and we weren't going to hurt anybody. So,
Right.
we were there to hear them talk.
Mhm.
We respectfully disagree with their opinions, but we were simply there to watch and learn, and we wanted to hear and believe what they had to say.
Listen to and try and
Yeah,
believe.
we were there to listen and believe to what they said.
Yeah.
It just turned out most of it was bullshit.
So the second portion of this, and it's only 3 strategies I really picked on, were the strategies ignored or a strategic faux pas. So basically, opportunities that existed, but through their actions, they kind of trampled upon these ones. Number 19, if I roll back here, is the envelopment strategy. So people will use any kind of gap in your defenses to attack you, so offer no gaps. The secret is to envelop your opponents, create relentless pressure on them from all sides, and close off their access to the outside world. As you sense their weakening resolve, crush their willpower by tightening the noose.
It's basically the offensive version of the echo chamber.
Yes. So I think
You're essentially smoking them out.
yeah, and
You force them to breathe their own air until they can't take it anymore, and
Mhm.
then it's like, okay, we give up.
But I think where he failed in this one here is the whole offer no gaps, right?
That's true. I'll give you that. Yeah.
I kind of, it's kind of the reversal. As opposed to the offering no gaps in the attack, and even in the attack, there were a couple of things to poke in there. Or sorry, in offering no gaps in defense, he offered gaps in his attack. He didn't really encircle her in this one. And how could he? I'm not sure. And this is
That's the thing, though. I look at those first
Mm,
three rows as an encirclement, and as a good thing. I
mm,
mean, basically, they circled the wagons, so to speak, and came together and were like, okay, we're all going to sit here together
mhm,
politely. It was very reminiscent, and I don't care if this pisses anyone off.
mm.
It was very reminiscent of back in the '60s, the idea of uh, sit-ins, like the original
Yeah,
sit-ins,
yeah,
where people sat in lunch counters where they weren't welcome.
yeah.
Where it was like, well, you can tell us that we're not welcome here, but
We're
this
still
is
gonna
a
be here.
public space, and we should be allowed to be here just like everyone else.
Hmm.
And I would never go so far as to say that it was on a par with that from
No,
a moral standpoint,
but it has the
but
same feel.
from a strategic standpoint, very much so.
Yeah. So I think there were some gaps in the
Exactly,
attack.
exactly, Pepino. He made a road for her to go down and forced her down that road.
Mm,
He got her.
yeah,
He put her in a canyon where she had to go backward or forward, and she decided to go forward.
but she
And
also
there was trouble ahead.
but she had a method of of basically dodging the entire thing, which would have just been to go on as if he wasn't there.
Of
Like
course,
there was
that's what a grown up would do.
yeah. So I wouldn't say he didn't really offer her no option, right? I wouldn't say he properly encircled. I'd say
He sorry.
he gave very few opportunities, but there were ones where she could like where I mean again she could have turned it around on him. I've mentioned
Well,
those a few times now.
that's why I used the idea of on a valley road,
Mm,
because if she had seen him ahead and said, "All right, turn around, everybody go back,"
mm. But she didn't
what
have
she gonna
to.
do?
But she didn't have to backtrack. She could have kept on going.
She,
It.
but that's what I'm saying. She
Mhm.
decided to keep going. She could have stopped right there and said,
Yeah.
"Okay, there's something in the road. We're gonna have to go back and go around."
Yeah.
But
Or yeah.
instead, she decided, "No, we're gonna go straight ahead through Godzilla."
Yeah. He didn't. He didn't decide
And
that
we
he
all know
didn't.
what happens to the little tanks in the movies when they go up against Godzilla.
He didn't knock out the train tracks. He just stood there on the canyon walls, baiting them to walk through the area.
Right. And it
Like
was up to her whether she came through or not.
yeah.
And he gave her he gave her a road that she could go down that was either toward an argument or
Yeah.
interaction
Or non-engagement.
or non-engagement. And non-engagement should have been the road she chose, because in going for engagement, she decided, okay, I'm gonna go all Cenk Uyghur on his ass and just
Yeah.
be a royal fucking bitch on wheels.
Fucking
And
was it
in
Anna
doing so,
Kasparian?
I would, yeah.
I'm
Her and
better than you.
Kasparian are two peas in a fucking pod. I
They're both.
love Armenian women.
I
I
say they're
dated
both
Armenian
Armenian.
women that were awesome, but those two women make me so fucking mad. And they were both pretty at one time, but
They
their
both give you a
anger.
reason for Armenian genocide, right?
No, 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 no. That's no. I wouldn't go there.
She looked at him while she could look at the
They're
road and
they're
not hit the truck going the other way. She looked at him while she could. Okay, so while she could have been looking at the road, she looked at him, and while she was looking at him,
Yep.
she hit a truck going the opposite direction. Yeah,
Pappy's got it exactly right.
yeah. The
She
the
could have
Paps on
kept
with this
on.
one.
She could have kept on keeping on,
Mm, yep.
and just done her little thing and did her little dance and made her little money. But she wanted
Mm,
to decide, okay, I'm gonna call this guy out because I'm big and important. I've been to the fucking UN. Da da da
right.
da da. I'm feminist frequency. Well, you can feminist frequency right the fuck off. You
I
know, it
being used to being in theater and musical theater through when I was a bit younger. One of the benefits, and I think they should really start. They should have done this for her. Is when you have a spotlight on you.
etiquette school.
No, when you have a spotlight on you, it's actually really hard to see the audience.
Hmm.
Um, and even from that range, like I get you're only like maybe 20, 30 feet from them, right?
It's
At
hard to see
most.
the audience on a stage like just in a bar.
Yeah. So
So I
if they
understand
had
where you're
have
coming from.
if they had lit the stage properly, right? That
She would have
wouldn't
never
have
seen him.
that wouldn't have been an issue. And you could do the Q&A panel. It's like if you have a question, like an organizer will take your question. They stand down
All
at
they
the
had was
foot of
floor
the
lights.
foot of the stage, and somebody
Or
says, "Yep,
footlights. I'm sorry. Yes,
yeah."
footlights, not floor lights.
So if you walk up into that area and you are lit, right, the contrast is gone. You can see that person. But if
It really does help with performances sometimes, because a lot of actors are very very shy people.
yes, can
It's
confirm it was a
like
saving grace.
startlingly shy. I worked at a regional theater for about 3 years.
Mm,
I was their head of security for a while, and some of the sweetest people you will ever meet.
mm,
Some of the shit that comes out of actors' mouths in the public sphere,
oh,
I have heard stage actors say,
mm,
but I think that's part of the reason why I don't get so angry about some of the stupid shit that famous
mm,
people say, because when you know a person and you know that they're a good person, you talk
yeah.
to them every day. You know,
But they say one wrong
you
thing, and that's
interact
getting
with
blown
them,
up.
and they say one thing, and it's like, dude, that's kind of fucked up. But you don't, that doesn't change who that person is.
Yeah.
If I could recommend anybody watch a cartoon, Johnny Ethko has a cartoon called
Mm.
The Racist, I think The Old Racist Tree or something like that.
Nice.
Oh my God. If it wouldn't get you a copyright strike, I'd tell you to go pull it up when we're done with this, because it's awesome. It's a fucking message, but it's so well put that it doesn't
Mm,
come across like one.
yeah. So
And sorry, go ahead.
yeah, I was just
I
gonna say.
didn't
So
mean to.
that was the enveloping the enemy bit. Like, I was just trying to get back to the strategies quickly
Sorry.
enough. No, no worries. I took it off on a teacher myself, so that's on me.
Yeah, but it's your
Um,
stream.
so the second one there, number 24, which I think he could have either ignored or trampled upon, was taking the line of least expectation, the ordinary extraordinary strategy. People expect your behavior to conform to known patterns and conventions. Again, expecting him to be there, essentially. Um, your task as a strategist is to upset their expectations. First, do something ordinary and conventional to fix their image of you, then hit them with the extraordinary. The terror is greater for being so sudden. Sometimes the ordinary is extraordinary because it is unexpected. I get I don't think there was any expectation that Sargon would erupt emotionally in the thing for being criticized. So I don't think that no reason for it to happen.
Oh.
He's
Well,
always
there's no reason for it to happen, but there would be a reason for her to believe that it might.
nope. If she knew him at all, right?
She
There's
doesn't.
but there's no
She knows her perception of him.
see
We know
again.
that she has not watched more than an hour total, like total runtime. There's no way that woman has watched more than an hour total runtime of his videos.
I
She doesn't
think
know
she's
who he is.
too.
She
I
knows
think
who
she's.
she perceives him to be.
I think she's too
And I think
self-absorbed
that
to
she
not
thought
watch
that to
it.
be a little snowflake because we tend to project what we are on others.
Mm,
It gets good people in trouble and keeps bad people safe.
mm. I.
What we are down deep, we project on other people because we think that everyone thinks like we do. It's part of the reason why people butt heads is because everyone automatically assumes, well, of course he thinks like I do. I know how things work.
Mm. See, I
But
when I
in
look
her
at it.
mind, if he had attacked her the way that she attacked him, she would
Mhm.
have been indignant. She would have lost her shit. She would have went completely ape on him.
See,
He
I
would have
think
been
if
able
he
to
had
hurt
of.
her the next room over.
I think if
And
he had a
she
flip.
expected him to react in kind, and he didn't. He reacted with calm, cool, collected, I'm here to talk.
Mm,
And she couldn't process. She was like, well, you don't have anything to say anyway. She was grasping at straws because he he basically caught her flat-footed. And it was beautiful to see because like we've been talking about, she didn't have to engage.
mhm.
She could have simply ignored the fact that they were there and been like, you know what, I'm the better person. Because one of the things that pisses people off when someone wants to honk you off, if you don't react, they're
Mm.
it winds them up like a fucking top.
Yeah, they'll do what they can to get a reaction.
Right. I have had people swing on me
Mm. See,
hoping for a reaction.
I think I honestly
You're
believe.
roboting a little bit.
Okay, that's okay. Give me 1 second here. I'll refresh. Oh shit! No, there we go. I need. Bloody hell. Bo's gonna have to come back to this. I forgot. I'm the only person in this. Damn it! I forgot the rules of Hangouts. That if you're the only two people in there and you leave, it just ends it for the other person as well. No, I have not. I have not muted or booted Bo's. And when he comes back, I'll say what it is that it's gonna say. But aside from that, how is everyone enjoying the stream? I know there has been a lot of chat engagement aside from Pepino, which I do appreciate. And I have liked the input. I like the basically the road for to go down. Yeah, I know I forgot, but the problem is I just refreshed it and there we go.
Sorry about that.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, see, I forgot. I'm not projecting the Hangout, so that's good. But in any case,
Octane wants to join in.
oh, absolutely. I'll find you here on the Twatter. You're gonna have it here in like 2 seconds, my friend. So check your DMs. It's been sent.
Yeah, my whole thing is, I mean, we're basically Monday morning quarterbacking. It could have gone differently, but I think considering the situation at hand, I can't imagine Sargon handling it any better than he did.
No, he didn't have an option of doing it better than.
I may have it for me. It would have been if I was drunk or not, especially if I had been drinking Jack Daniels. Because if I had been drunk, I'd have been like, okay, bitch, now hold on one guy.
Yeah, you'd have gotten kicked out of that hall.
Be a preacher.
See, I think
I think that he handled it very, very well, but I also think that there was a polite provocation.
Yes. Oh, for sure.
It was polite provocation.
Now I think, and shock horror on this one.
It was necessary.
I think that if Carl had showed up and launched into her, right? I think what would have happened from Anita's side, I don't think she would have blown up, because what she would have been confronted with would have been what she expected entirely. Right? She keeps saying these people are angry, they're misogynistic, they just want to, harass and verbally abuse women and all this other jazz.
Bad people.
Yes, but Sargon going off on her verbally would have, I guess, reinforced.
It would confirm it.
Yes. So I don't think she would have blown up. I think she would have been. I think she would have been more comfortable to have Sargon rage at her.
Wait a minute. I think you're dead right.
Because
like a wilting lily.
I don't know, but what I
because that's the. I mean, think about it. Think about when Obama was what's the word when you debating when he was
Hmm.
debating Hillary Clinton.
Yep.
There were several times when she played the lady card where he said something that sounded mean
Yeah.
and she shrunk. You could see her physically shrink in on herself.
Hmm.
Anita very easily could have been like, "Oh my God, get him away!
Yeah. I think
Make
it
him go
it
away!"
it would have just been
And it would have played in the crowd that was there besides the shitlords. It would
yes.
have played like fucking
I think it would have been.
Dallas back in the '70s on TV.
I think her best out that way, and I think she probably would have pulled it. Would have been, yep, typical misogynistic harasser. Now I just get to do it IRL. Like that statement alone would have
Exactly.
completely blown him away, right? And instead, he gets to say, "Yep, typical overreacting feminist gets just harasses people when she thinks she has the power."
Right.
Same thing on both
You're
sides.
exactly right.
But I don't think he quite came through. Like, I think if he had have gone to VidCon and not showed up, if they had have just completely boycotted her panel, I think that would have been unexpected.
That's no fun.
That it's no fun in the moment, right? But I
It also
think
doesn't. I mean, think about the inroads that were made on simple peacemaking today.
mhm.
I keep saying, "Blessed are the peacemakers," because it's true.
Also, say hi to
It
Octane because
the
he's been sitting here quietly for the last 2 minutes while I've ranted.
Hey Octane, sorry,
Hello.
I
It's
don't
okay.
have an off switch.
No, it's okay. It's fine. Uh, I wasn't paying attention too much to the stream since I've been watching my friend playing Nier Automata
Okay,
a little bit.
just a bit. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Here's this one meme. You was still reminded that 2B is 326 pounds, and yet what happens when she face sits you?
I'm gonna
Say,
What's that?
I'm gonna presume that there's enough control in the legs to not crush my head.
well, it depends on the person how masochistic they are.
This is true.
Wait a minute, I'm confused. What are we talking about?
That's a video game.
Video
called
game.
Bruise of Android.
Very
Oh,
sexy,
okay.
sexy android.
Oh, okay.
Just type in.
I'll let her
type-
fracture my skull. I don't give a shit.
So, but yes, back
yeah.
back to where we were. The final one I had
As
was
I've said since high school, if you make them forget their name, they won't forget yours.
Yours.
I can lick my eyebrows and breathe through my fucking ears.
deny them targets, the strategy of the void. I think Sargon got away lucky with what he did.
Yeah,
because
yeah,
he gave
I-
Anita an
that could have
option.
that could have gone really, really bad.
Yes, he gave her the option to paint him in a very poor light, and nothing he could have done in the moment would have saved him.
There
Right.
would have been a shitstorm though.
Afterwards, sure.
Can I say this? What are you guys talking about? This
Yeah,
is
go
not
ahead.
like policies, right? You're just going through. Just looks like a big summary of.
Oh, yeah. The what I've got here on the stream is Robert Greene's The 33 Strategies of War. And they're essentially the 33 strategies that anyone conducting really anything. These can apply to every portion of your life.
So things such as like psychological warfare to actual warfare.
Sort of.
even-
Personal relationships, political, aspirations, business. Yes, combat as well. But
Why is this though? Do you think Sargon actually used it, or you're just following if he's following the rules?
I'm trying to analyze
We know
the.
he's fond of the book, apparently.
Yes, he's
Or-
quite
or we
fond of the
think he's
book.
fond.
No, he is. He was in a Dave Rubin interview, and they said like somebody on the like super chat question and answer period asked him like, "Do you have 5 book recommendations?" And 2 of his were Robert Greene. They were the 48 Laws of Power and the 33 Strategies of War. He knows this book. He knows this book well.
1,039 pages, Jesus.
I have the audiobook.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to listen to than it is to read.
Yeah, reading just makes me just want to go to sleep.
But yeah, the ones you see here are just the summary. It's the preface of the book. Once you get down below this, of course, you get into the actual book.
Okay.
But I've included that there for anyone who wants to like examine the strategies in depth. Because this is one of the books that I think, honestly, this should be high school reading.
High school reading all this.
It's not that much. The audiobook is a couple of days. Like, not a couple of days of straight time. It's
Strategy should be taught in school.
this right
Plumber,
here,
fix your water heater,
right?
simple plumbing problems, how to
Change your
manage a
oil.
fucking budget,
Change your
Yeah,
oil.
yeah,
Do your
yeah.
taxes.
How to
Constitution,
pay
the
bills
Magna
for Christ's
Carta.
sakes.
Yeah. But yeah, so no, it's just the PDF of Robert Greene's book, and one that I think applies very interesting to this, because everyone who's looked at it so far has basically just done the drama alert thing. They've gone, oh, Anita called him a garbage human being, and she's a hypocrite, and yada yada. And it's like,
And
But there are deeper things afoot.
that's the thing that I'm looking at is what are the deeper messages being sent? What's the deeper current going on here? And
okay.
just analyzing what went on, how it possibly could have been done better, what aspects of it were either, I would say, and this is the one I was just kind of coming to it, which is the unnecessarily risky.
Uh-huh.
I don't think there was enough evidence for Sargon to believe that what Anita did was the likely outcome. I think there was definitely the option that it was an outcome, and no one would deny that. But for con artists are usually very, very good with people.
But see, that's the thing, though. Anita Sarkeesian doesn't know that she's a con artist.
Oh, I think she does.
No, probably she
No,
does.
now hear me out here. She knows that she's a con artist insofar as she is conning people out of money, but she is a true believer in her message.
I don't think so.
Really think that I think that she believes every word she's saying, but she has figured out, just like Jesse Jackson, just like Reverend Al
Sharpton,
just like so many other people that profit off of the division of their fellow human beings. She has learned that if I push right here, I get money.
But I don't think she's a believer in the.
Here, people get mad and I get money. She is. I think that she is a con artist of the highest caliber. But you can be a con artist and still be an idiot. You just have to be clever.
See, I think
some of the best con artists I have ever met are dumber than a bag of fucking hammers.
But they know people.
But they're clever.
You gotta know people.
They know how to make people work. They know how to make people work against one another and see the problems in their own argument, even though they can never give you a cogent argument on their own.
What were you gonna say there, Octane?
They're bulletproof.
Sounds like you're sort of describing me to like any other sort of like a career politician. In my opinion.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a sociopath.
Fun fact: sociopaths are some of the most successful business people and politicians in the world. Is a sociopath? What?
1 in 7 Americans is a sociopath.
Odd.
I just want to get a clear definition on it.
Yeah.
Now, sociopath just means you don't respond to stimuli the way that the meme does. Sociopath doesn't mean you're chasing people with axes or putting people in the crawl space.
Psychopath v sociopath.
It just if you're a sociopath, all it means is that if you do those things, it won't bother you much.
I see. Okay. Not like a psychopath, right?
No. Psychopath is somebody who.
Psychopathology is another animal altogether. None of it. That's the thing. They want to use spectrums on all these things like gender when they don't use them for mental fucking illness.
Yep.
What about the same thing like autism as well?
What about it? Autism?
The problem I have with the spectrum. I'm sorry. The problem I have with the spectrum of on autism is that it makes it very easy to lump people into autism.
Yeah.
Good point. Yeah.
I shouldn't have interrupted you.
So savants are autistic, right? But not all autists are savants. Psychopaths, savants. A savant is somebody who has a seemingly superhuman ability to do a certain thing. Usually, it's pattern recognition.
It's an ultimate form of focus.
Yep. Somebody who's a savant may have it mathematical. They might be able to tell you what day a given, like if you say what day of the week was it on June 7th of 1922, right?
You can also do that with a math trick.
Yes, but some of them could just tell you. I mean,
I knew it before the ICU. That's what pisses me off.
Right? Some of them can just rattle that stuff off. Like Rain Man was an autistic savant, or an example of one. the ability to count cards, predict odds. But there's a certain inability that savants have, which is to switch between I think it's switched between algorithms. There's a certain switch they can't do. I remember watching this because there was one guy who was he was a human calculator essentially, and to trip up a savant, you switch the algorithm a certain way, and they can't do the calculation anymore. They can't get you the answer. Whereas people who are legitimately they have a certain talent can. It's a whole other issue. The point is, the vast majority of psychopaths,
don't know how the brain works.
yeah, will also be almost by necessity sociopathic.
Yeah, they're the idea of sociopathy
Sociopathy.
is
The whole problem with sociopathy is, you see,
Steve Urkel, I will slap the shit out of you. All right, because you did do that and you know it.
But the thing about sociopathy is that it's the inability to process emotional information properly.
Yeah.
It's
Or like everyone else.
well, yeah. Let's just say properly
Mm.
because that's what it is.
That depends on proper.
I'm borderline sociopathic.
Mm-hmm.
I know what I'm talking about.
No, but if you look at somebody who's
clinical.
Yeah, but
borderline sociopathic.
If you look at somebody who is the people who are in big business or politics who can make a decision like
A
laying
lot of them are hardcore sociopaths.
yes, because
It's because you don't have empathy to some extent.
they're able to say
you can look at you can take the cold dark reality of truth and apply it without ever wondering about Bob in accounting who has a second mortgage and his wife's about ready to leave him.
see
It's the ability
to lay off
the
a
best
few thousand
example
people.
I know is a sociopath and a standard person
Mhm.
are standing like on a corner and they see a car accident.
Mhm.
Okay.
A deep sociopath. Now I'm not talking about somebody who like me who has sociopathic like mild sociopathic tendencies.
Okay. Can we also
A lot of time
can I add autism since I'm have Asperger's, and to be quite honest, certain situations I just don't react. I react differently how some
Mhm.
certain patients versus a normal person.
Yeah, my problem is when the problem that I have with autism is that autism has become such a wide category, and most folks don't understand what autism is. Like with
Yeah.
you having Asperger's, that is on the spectrum of autism, but to me that spectrum basically just means a grouping of symptoms.
Oh.
And the that I think a lot of times people hear autism and they have a mental picture of what autistic is, and I think a lot of times it's the guy from Rain Man.
Mm.
They think that's what someone with autism is. Well, yeah, that is someone with autism, but that's not everyone with autism.
What's this Raymond and what is he is?
Rain Man.
Rain Man was Sean not Sean Penn. Fuck. Sean Penn?
It was Tom Cruise and
Dustin Hoffman.
Oh, okay.
And it's a movie about a fellow that has a brother who is a mathematics savant. And a lot of Americans, and a lot of Western countries kind of associate savantism with autism, with mental illness, with it's like this big blob. Where if you tell somebody I'm diabetic, they understand you have a blood sugar problem.
Mm-hmm.
If you tell someone you're autistic, it's a panoply.
Mm-hmm.
There is a huge, vast area that autism covers, and people just assume what that word means.
Mm.
Asperger's is not the same as someone with actual attention deficit disorder.
Or someone who's a non-functioning autist.
Low-functioning or functioning autist.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's all these little buzzwords that people use because they heard them on Sherlock or something like high-functioning sociopath. Well, yeah, a high-functioning sociopath sounds very cool. It sounds very dangerous and risky and edgy, but it's not something that you want to fucking be.
No. Well, unless you can make it work really well for you.
Well, no, because thankfully I'm not a high functioning sociopath. I
Mm.
am a person with mild sociopathic tendencies
Mm.
because of some creepy shit that happened as a child. A lot of times, one of the things that I heard, which may or may not be correct, is that sociopaths are made, psychopaths are born.
Yes.
There is generally a chemical imbalance in the mind of of a psychopath that causes them to not register empathy on a level that lets them interact with other human beings in a healthy way.
Mm.
A sociopath can be someone who simply saw something horrible as a child or experienced something. I mean, you can be 20 years old and essentially start to have those tendencies. To be a dyed in the wool sociopath, you have to go through some creepy ass shit as a child. But even when it comes to sociopathy is a wide range. We've gotten I've decided what I'm going to do with my channel. I'm going to talk about words
Mm.
because words are important. We use words way too easy for too many things.
But,
They they
I was gonna
I'm sorry,
insert
go ahead.
I was gonna insert a joke. Yeah, as yeah, I agree with that because of one particular person, literally and seriously, if you know that joke.
Literally and seriously everything. Or there's also the oh shit, everyone's OCD. It's like no, you happen to have a couple of
Actually,
particular
If
issues.
you know that what I'm
actually,
talking about, if if you guys know what I'm talking
I'm
about.
I get tired of the term actually. It's like, no, 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 no. I was using that word when I was 10 years old. I'm an old fart. You don't get to use it on me. You,
Hmm.
but,
Yeah, and
but
I'm saying
yeah, I
as
mean,
a sorry.
I, no, I mean, I understand. I just want, if I could have my own little three wishes, the first one would be that just people be decent to one another. Try
Hmm.
to look at the other guy and think, maybe he's having a bad day. Give him, I mean, it, now granted, like I've said before, I've done security work for years, everything from strip club bouncer to high level corporate security.
Wow. Uh,
I I am good at watching things and taking care of people. I just have no desire to ever be in law enforcement.
hmm.
That I mean, I realized that when I was a young man. I was like, yeah, I want to help people. I don't want to be a cop because too many cops get a bad rap, even back then.
Hmm.
Definitely, definitely, I agree
And
with that.
superheroes aren't a thing. So
Hmm.
short of being bit by a radioactive spider or being face first in a fucking atomic bomb, the best thing I can do is be a security guard. you know,
And
and or a bouncer or just have some people around that need somebody to look after them and look after them.
have you ever just
It's
noticing?
people hurting.
Oh, sorry. Have you ever tried to also like experiment the human mind or the human behavior and looking at different ways when a human reacts or like looking at their body language, facial expressions,
Oh, absolutely,
like
I'm
absolutely. That's
I'm
my hobby.
gonna roll this on back to the original topic of the stream real quick.
Oh,
sorry about that.
No worries. We're just getting way off into the weeds, and there were a couple of ones I just wanted to cover because I've given Sargon his credit and given him his criticisms on what I think he did and could have done. Um,
And what do you think he could have done or done differently?
the three that I criticized were the annihilation strategy and his failure to employ it properly. I would say he gave her too many outs that she like. Obviously, his showing up there now that and especially now that I've heard it that there was kind of the whole discussion prior to
Hmm.
knew what he was doing, right? Knew that it was bait. But in doing so, there were too many ends where she really could have made a very simple criticism of him or ignored him completely. And it would have been just either a waste of his time or it would have been very poor PR for him. She could have
really have
just,
her sewn up.
no, he could have just said, look, or sorry, she could have just said, look, there, we all know that there's a person here who is doing this as an attempt to bait me. They're going to claim that this is just them being polite and acting within the realm of VidCon, and that's
Yeah,
fine. But we know what they're here for. Let's move on. If she just said it that way,
she would have been a lot more mature, and people would have viewed her as like, okay, fine, she finally matured, and she finally
mm,
understands, and better than just the whole blaming other people sort of thing.
Yeah, she had every opportunity to like with his strategy or his tactic, I should say, the small scale employment of action. She had every chance to really come out of that looking golden to an extent, I should say, but she didn't, and he didn't have her boxed in the way he should have for something like that. And I think there was more to be risked now that I look at it again. There was more being risked than he necessarily needed to for a likelihood of reward that wasn't as great as it could have been. There were plenty of options by which he could have gotten a payout.
What do you? Okay.
Mhm.
When we get into shitlordy things, what do you think, shitlord wise? What do you think he could have done, or everybody in the group would have done?
I think they could have. Depending on, I don't know if you can reserve seats.
Very good question.
No, I don't.
I'm sitting here now trying to think.
Here's one. Let's just
No.
say, if you're a creator, right? I don't know what the privileges are with the creator pass versus the community one, but let's say you could reserve a seat, right?
Yeah, definitely.
You could say you reserve a seat and you don't show.
Ooh.
Reserve a seat, don't show. Right?
You know,
It's an option. Mm-hmm.
you mean like having an empty seat up front that nobody could sit in because you would have been there, but
You have every right to that seat.
That would presume that she would know that was your seat.
You would put reserved for so and so on it. That's those little like triangle cards you put on it. Reserved for so and so. And the news would get around that Sargon, but news would have gotten around that Sargon had reserved a seat, and then he didn't show. It's another option. The other one would have been to just hold.
To me, that could have been taken as capitulation. It could have been seen as he chickened out.
Possibly.
Because he was going to go and infuriate the mean old feminist, and instead he stayed in his room and got drunk.
I'm just saying it's an option.
Pussies on the, that's what kind of pussies we're dealing with. It would have been spun against him.
Yes, but then she lashes out anyway, right? And all he has to do is, let's just say he doesn't do anything during that time publicly, right? He can say, like, I wasn't feeling well, I didn't make the thing and didn't get a chance to do this. She's just blown up with no reason to perfectly claim that he was doing something wrong, right? Why not? Why not?
Everyone on our side, quote unquote, would see it as, because I'm on my own side. I don't have sides.
All he would have to say was like, I was really hungover. I had reserved a seat for it. I didn't wake up in time to go to the thing.
Everyone that was there with him, if that were the case, would be like, yeah, that's exactly. He was hammered last night. He on top of jet lag, he probably wasn't up to coming.
Yep.
But the other side would not see it that way. The other side would see it as someone being craven.
But you don't convince. You're not convincing the other side either way. You're convincing the people who are in the middle or on the fence, outside of the issue.
But that's the thing. The other side has their optics that they will apply and spread.
That they'll attempt to.
I really think that what Anita did today hurt her.
Yesterday.
In the long run.
Oh no, but making remarks about someone not being there.
I think that there were people in that audience, just like you're talking about, that were on the fence.
On the fence.
That came there thinking that came basically they weren't real sure whether they wanted to be on Anita's side or Sargon's side.
Actually, can I ask
of SJWs or anti-SJWs?
Octane.
I was thinking here's another. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No. Octane was gonna go. Octane, you go. You had it.
I was thinking.
you go.
Yeah, I still have it in my head. Did Lacey Green gone to the panel? Did she?
Was she on that panel with Anita? No, not to my knowledge.
No. Was she sitting with the anti-SJW community with the others?
I don't think so.
Because what would happen if Anita saw Lacey Green sitting down there with the others? What do you think her reaction would be? She be like, come back to us, or she would just shame her completely?
Oh, shame. That's a shaming moment. That's definitely a shame option.
Yeah, she that whole weird little mindset has really glommed on to the Game of Thrones. Shame, shame, shame. You know what? They sound like Puritans, 1612.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
And when they're sitting there like shame, shame. I mean, I've seen this happen like in public. I'm like, this isn't fucking Game of Thrones, numbnuts.
Or Islam.
This is real life. Yeah, or Islam. You don't get to chase people through the streets and harass them that way.
And it's America.
And
people have free thought.
Thank you. Yeah, and I have not been so thankful for a Supreme Court decision in about 10 years.
I think there's
for the slants.
I think yeah, that was good. I think the other issue there, the other option I guess Sargon would have had was, I bet you money, right? Sargon and a bunch of the other shitlords, right, could have actually held a shitcon at somewhere ridiculous, like, no, I mean like a Waffle House or something. Like, pick somewhere completely fucking random.
They have already said so.
I know, but if they had have done it during the same time as Anita's panel,
oh yeah,
right, it would have been like this.
Look at the numbers.
You could say this happened to be a good time for us to run this, whatever. Right, this is when we could get booked. You got 1 million outs, 1.5 million outs. All right,
see,
but
that's the thing though. When you're dealing with a situation where you're trying to take people away from a side.
No, you're not taking people away. You're just hosting your own thing. You have every right to host a little get together.
See, we're looking at it different ways. It's not a matter of to me. It's not a matter of just having our own thing. It's a matter of taking people away from that madness.
It sounds like to me. It sounds like sort of like a competition thing.
I just think it's right. you can make the statement.
Competition doesn't help us. Competition will show off how many people agree with us, but it won't increase our numbers.
See, I think the panel, no matter what,
such a way where you're like, okay, everybody, how about everybody go in and see Anita's panel, and 2 hours after Anita's panel, on the way from there to here, get you a burger or something, and we're gonna have a panel to rebut everything that bitch said.
See, then it's overt again. I really think if you had just held.
I'm saying it as a prick. I'm saying we're going to have a panel to discuss what was discussed at their panel.
So I think you could have. He could have just.
I'm not diplomatic. I'm an asshole. But if you have someone that's diplomatic that can say, "Okay, look, we're going to look and see what these women and minorities and fill in the fucking blank of whoever's upset at somebody now. We're going to look at these grievances that you are bringing up. We will listen to them, we will watch them, and then we ask that everyone at this grouping come over here, and we're going to talk about it from our point of view and try to come up with some ideas that might help from our side.
I just think that
you get conversations going, you get people going from there to there, and at least some of them will see the light. You have to think of it like religion. You can't think of it as logic or as reason. It doesn't. I mean, logic and reason are beautiful. They're part of why I love the quote unquote skeptic community. But you can't think of changing minds from a scientific standpoint.
Yeah, definitely. It's also like philosophical.
I mean,
as well.
or just yeah, exactly. You can't just use a scientific standpoint. I mean, everything in this strategy is important, but we really are fighting for hearts and minds. That's what it's been since.
See, I just
we've been in a cold war. Sorry, I'll shut up.
I'm gonna try over and over again to slide in here. It's all right. What I was gonna say is that by holding their own con or holding their own get together, right, and not going, right, you do nothing wrong. Literally, absolutely nothing wrong. You don't. You can literally say, "I didn't even want to pester you folks. We did our own thing away from the convention hall or whatever." You can make yourself be seen to be acquiescing to literally every option they've put forward, right? and yet still do your own thing, still probably elicit a response from them. And if you don't get a response from them, you've lost no face, right? No one can claim you've done it and, it was all this massive ploy. With Sargon going in the way he did, he ran the risk of having that blowback in his face, right? Giving Anita a way to justify and say, yep, this is what we expect from them. Look at them here to try and do this shit, whatever, right? Could have done that, and it would have somewhat validated her points. Like, not, obviously the majority of her points are shit, but from her own perspective, it validates her position, right? And it's only by luck, I would say. Yes, and it's only by luck that she managed that Sargon managed to get an outburst from her. It's only by luck that he managed to get that outburst and then be able to turn that.
I can't go that far on it. I really, I don't know if I can really chalk it all up to luck. I mean, yes, it was.
He couldn't make her do it.
It worked out well.
Yes.
He couldn't make her do it, but she has a proclivity for putting her foot in her mouth.
But not lashing out emotionally. Saying things that don't make sense, yes. Contradicting herself over time, absolutely. However, to claim that somebody who has the degree of what I would call emotional intelligence that she possesses, right? To screw up like that is not a prediction that I think most would make. Everyone likes to take shots at Anita and whatnot, and that's all well and good. But I really don't think that was an outcome anyone could expect. And I think there was just more to be gained by Sargon not being in that room, right? By likelihood, at least, than there was by being there. I'm not saying by being there he was wrong. Obviously, hindsight's 2020.
Yeah.
But I just
not busting his balls. You're just saying maybe it could have gone
other options. Other options that would have been risking less, or at least, like, he wasn't risking anything personally by going there, right? Not much is going to happen to him from her getting upset or giving him like accurate blowback, but he does risk giving her a way to further cement her own position, right? That's like saying if you're on the battlefield and if you give your enemy time to dig in, why? Right? The only reason you would ever give your enemy time to dig in is just because you want them to be in that position, later on,
so
right?
You can shoot mortars into their ass.
Exactly. But unless you know for a fact you have that lined up, right? You don't roll down that hill. You don't give them the chance to entrench. Because then if your first attack doesn't go exactly how you want it to, now you're in shit creek without a proverbial means of propulsion. You're fucked.
Keep in mind that an entrenched enemy isn't moving either.
No, they're not moving, but they're definitely ready for you to come to them.
Like a fucking tick, it can be a huge pain in the ass.
Yes. You do eventually have to depose your enemy. And the more time they get to dig in and the more prepared they're going to be, the harder it is to push them out.
I'm not trying to gainsay. I swear to God, it's just it's the strategy chess thing.
Mm-hmm.
The longer they're there, the longer the supplies have to hold out.
Yeah, but that's talking war. This is just talking.
I'm being a dick. I can't.
Like, you still got to attack him eventually. Yeah, you still got to attack him eventually. But that was my one. So he left her with options of ways out, and ways out that would have actually played into her hand somewhat. I think that him doing something, right, something at all was expected, right, and I think that didn't quite line up with the ordinary extraordinary, right, because the whole make SJWs
to read this book.
Yeah, the whole make SJWs play by their own rules after breaking them, that one's old hat. People have been doing that for a long time, and that's just standard practice now. That to me is not the unexpected. The unexpected would have been for him to sit there and actually maybe like ask a question, but in doing so compliment her. That would have been unexpected. For him to say, wait to the end of it, sit at the back, and then at the very end of it say, I really admire this, this, and this. I think he did this and this really well. And I had this question. And you ask one little thing.
Been savage.
That
Okay, here.
Mhm.
Oh, go ahead.
that would have basically it would never have, he could never have gone there and
She never would have seen it coming.
yeah, but he never could have gone there and still fulfilled the total envelopment. Couldn't have done it. He could have, however, denied her a target entirely and pulled the ordinary extraordinary by a complimentary post-panel comment, right? And I think that really would have left her with nowhere to go, at least to attack him. Then if she does attack him, she has to bury herself.
He could have trolled the shit out of her.
It would have been trolling. There's always honest criticism or honest compliments.
What I'm saying is, personally, I would have sat down. I mean, this is just me. I like messing with people. I would have sat down and said, "Getting ready to watch Anna, or not Anna, shit,
Anita
Sarkeesian," and I think I might actually learn something while I'm here. And then halfway through, I would have posted, "Oh my god, she's making sense," and that would have been the last thing I posted.
And what was that, Octane?
So good.
Just another factor. I think I remember competing forever. Didn't Thunderfoot made more videos about Anita Sarkeesian than Sargon, right?
Oh, I would bet my left nut on it, but yeah.
Okay, because I was thinking, what happens if he was here?
Video.
Okay, because I was thinking, what happens if he was here, with or without Sargon? Either way, what happens if Thunderfoot was there as well?
I don't think he has the social chops to pull something off IRL. I'm gonna tell you right now. I think he's a brilliant individual. I think he's phenomenally intelligent in the field in which he specializes. But I don't think that he has the social acumen to pull that off in real life. I just don't think he does. I think that the social talent, the social intelligence, sort of, yeah. Like, there's I'm getting some feedback from somebody, but I'm saying, I don't know, maybe I'm the only one hearing it in my own headphones. Not the point. There's usually, when you see somebody who has very, very high IQ or very, very high EQ, intelligence or emotional quotient, they lack the other. It's an inverse relationship. When one goes up, the other one tends to go down. And this is what Bose touched on earlier with con artists tending to not be necessarily technically intelligent, right? Yes, but they have the ability to work with people, right? They have an emotional intelligence. It's a different sort of intelligence. Whereas
book smarts versus street smarts.
Yes, whereas someone who is
Thunderfoot can tell you everything you need to know about thorium and whether it's an idea that is useful or not. I love Thunderfoot. I would rather watch him than PBS.
But he needs to. He should really stick. PBS. He should probably stick to science, as opposed to.
I think that if he had been involved today, he would have fumbled the ball.
Yes.
So far as going head on against Anita.
Yeah.
And that is not
at least IRL.
Yeah. He would have become politely indignant. He would have been very, very British. He would have been made to look like an ass.
Yeah, it wouldn't have played well.
He would have come across as a pre-colonial Brit.
Mm-hmm. So since I've kind of covered the Sargon pros and cons, I suppose, strategic pros and cons. The Anita one is kind of the inverse list. I think that she violated a lot more strategies than she followed in this. So I'm gonna cover those really quickly because I said I'd do both, and I promised I'd do both, and I got to check this box.
Time do you have to work in the morning?
Oh God, no. So the self-directed warfare was the declare war on your enemy's polarity strategy. I mentioned they shared this one because they're both engaged in this war. They know it. They have both committed to a fight, and they're not wavering on that. They know that they're gonna butt heads. They're gonna go at it. And I don't think there's a lot of disagreement on that one. I think she knows that she's in a fight for it, and good on her for accepting that at the very least. Two, this is strategy number 10 in the book, and it has created a threatening presence. Deterrent strategies. The best way to fight off aggressors is to keep them from attacking you in the first place. Build up reputation. You're a little crazy. Fighting you isn't worth it. Certainty.
Bitch face.
Yeah, sort of. Uncertainty is sometimes better
Bitch face. I know this works.
than overt threat. If your opponents are never sure what messing with you will cost, they will not want to find out. She's established this with Sargon, believe it or not, in the fact that he will say, don't engage with her. You will fuel her victim narrative. She will spin this, right? She will spin this and profit off of it. Just completely don't engage. Let her burn out. Let her just, go through the motions and give it all up at the end, right? She'll get through it eventually and leave her be. That's all you got to do. Oddly enough, he technically, by showing up, did engage. He says, I don't even think you should go to their channels. Well, he went effectively to her channel and doing this.
Well, the problem is that she thinks that her channel and the internet is her fucking living room.
Yes, but the point is,
the internet is at your fucking living room. The computer is in your fucking living room.
But she has.
What you have to do is turn the motherfucker off.
But she's created the atmosphere, if you will, that openly challenging her. Let's just say in real life or engaging with her, not just criticizing her ideas. That's one thing, but going to her to do it, right, is not to be done. It's just a bad move. It's a generally poor tactic. I think she's created that quite well.
It's not just her. It's the whole SJW left.
Yeah, but I'm not examining them.
Assaults.
Yeah, but I'm not examining them in this setup so much. I'm just commenting on the strategies that she and Sargon have both either employed or infringed upon, I suppose. Like, she has created a certain type of threatening presence. It's known that if you do go after her, she will ruin your life. Look at Ben Spur. I know it was Stephanie Guthrie did that, but it came from the whole Punch Anita thing, and she has used that sort of thing to bludgeon people, right?
She's a mean person.
Yes, and she'll use that ammunition to beat you. She's a what?
Like what power trip? I feel like she has. What she has? Like she has money, right?
Yep.
She has the appearance. What else? What else I have when it comes to have like that sort of conqueror sort of appearance?
She has charisma.
She has the ear of the media.
Yep. Yeah, she possesses a lot of social power. It's true, and she'll never acknowledge it.
Kind of sickening.
Yeah, to be quite honest, just to listen to one person.
So there's that. I think she gets three check marks for me in the unconventional warfare section, which is occupying the moral high ground. That was the whole create this moral narrative in which you are the victim and you can play this.
I'm better than you. What about that?
That's yeah. Not really.
But the same idea. Yeah.
It's
odd that
they
overlap again.
Her general presence there, especially on the panel she was on, gave her a position to work from as far as the victim narrative to play. And morally, she had the high ground, at the very least, with, I would say, the normies and with her own side, in that people who look at that say, well, she had every right to lash out at him because he's apparently done all this stuff and made all these videos and whatnot. She's owed her recourse.
Well, here's the thing. That's called criticism, all right?
Oh, yeah.
Back to it. It's not like no one's being hurt. Like, you're not being hurt. You're not being physically, I don't know, punched in the face. It's just words.
No, but with the circles in which she runs.
Words in this case.
Yeah.
It was just the presence of.
Yes.
I'm being triggered just because someone's looking at somebody.
But there's the backstory. We can't ignore the fact there's obviously backstory that plays into this, and so.
Yeah, but a quote-unquote strong woman shouldn't be terrified of seeing someone she disagrees with.
Who said she was terrified?
She called fucking security, dude.
Did she call security to have him removed afterwards?
She called security because she was playing the damsel card.
Yes. Moral. Yes, but moral high ground. She's still, but because she's able to play that card.
She bitches about the princess narrative. She bitches about the damsel narrative, and then she plays the damsel card.
But
that's what frustrates me.
So the fact of the matter is that it's still internally consistent for her. which is fucked.
But it shouldn't be.
It shouldn't. Well, no,
Yes.
it doesn't apply to logic as we see it, but it is internally consistent for her to say, right? I am a woman, right? I face sexism and abuse, right? I am, and then she goes, because I face sexism and abuse, I am owed certain leeway in defending myself. I'm gonna use an example.
To get drunk with a bunch of bra burners at this point.
I'm gonna use an analogy that may not fly with some. Look at Israel, okay?
Okay.
And this is, I know this. I've brought up them.
Go ahead. It's
Okay.
cool, it's cool.
Just make sure also fill in me in since I'm quite informed on a lot of this.
Don't worry, I'll go through it as open as I can.
Sure.
Now I've brought them into it. They are involved.
Wait, what? So you're saying
The joke is
women be like?
no. Okay, so in a way, let me get this all out here. The 6-Day War was a military engagement wherein Israel took on Egypt, Syria, Jordan, parts of the Iraqi Air Force. I think that was it.
Everyone at their border.
Yeah.
Besides the water.
They hit everyone. And they literally just one day. Now Egypt had been saying a whole lot of shit like they were going to wipe Israel off the map. A lot of
attacked by 3 of those countries on the first day, 2 more on the second day.
No.
And
No.
if I'm not
They
mistaken, Egypt stayed out of it for about a week.
No, not true at all. Israel attacked Egypt first. The very first bombs.
Talking about the Gaza Strip?
No. Hear me out here. The 6-Day War.
6-Day War. 6-Day War.
I've watched about 4 or 5 documentaries on this in the last couple of days. The 6-Day War was Egypt, Syria, and Jordan being attacked by Israel as a preemptive strike because they were talking about attacking Syria, or talking about attacking Israel. They had legitimate plans to attack Israel, right? And Israel had been doing some war games. They've been saying, okay, well, we can turn an airplane around in like 8 to 12 minutes. Like once it lands, right? Second touches down, we have 8 to 12 minutes in the time it takes us to get it back in the air again.
It was a pit crew for missiles and gas.
Basically. And so what they said was, well, fine, we're going to use this. They launched preemptive strikes to try and destroy as many Egyptian airplanes as they could on the ground. Right?
That does sound right. Okay,
Wiped,
I was having a brain fart.
essentially voided the Egyptian Air Force in the first 2 days. Right? Destroyed aircraft and bombed runways so that even the aircraft that got into the air, that were in the air, couldn't land anywhere. They were all out of range.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And they did this, they even had enough time after destroying the majority of Egypt's Air Force on the first day to move on and hit Syrian and Jordanian targets. Now, the reason I say this plays in is because of the situation that Israel finds itself in. The fact that it has all of these nations on its borders that want to see its utter destruction, like, it doesn't necessarily want to see them gone, right? The theory is here that Israel just wants to be Israel and be like, okay, fuck off, leave us alone.
Yeah.
But they can't do it because these other groups are are constantly a threat, and by their ideology, by their existence, want to eliminate Israel. The position.
I was completely off on.
There's another issue with Israel and a couple of other countries in the area. It happened before. That was the Yom Kippur War, I think it was. But in any case,
there were like 3 or 4 big engagements, like right within a 10 or 15 year span, if I remember right.
Yes.
Because I know the day that Israel was started as a country, I want to say there were 8 countries that declared war on it.
Yeah, it was off the start. That's the whole thing, though. Is that
that might have been what I was thinking of.
Okay. But in this position, if we juxtapose this with the Anita Sarkeesian bit, she is basically established the narrative that women are Israel, if you will, and that they should be sort of they're under threat, as it were. So because they are under threat, they should be accommodated certain allowances in the manner in which they conduct themselves, on the consideration of the fact that they are under threat. So if it's internally consistent for her to not only berate Sargon for being there, right? Because as we all know, yes, he went there as a certain provocation, right? It wasn't illegal, it wasn't unlawful, it wasn't in any way against the rules, but it was definitely a provocation, and that much we can't really deny. And no one has denied, so let's be fair on that.
But I would call it a benign provocation, if anything.
No provocation is benign. Benign is not doing anything.
I beg to differ. I had a very good friend in high school that started out as a bully.
Yeah, but you can't benign. Let me just. I want to make sure I have my definitions right here. Something benign is gentle or kindly or not harmful. Yes, but especially in medicine, it's not harmful in effect.
In other words, right. In other words, there was provocation there.
Yeah.
The provocation was not cruel in its intention. It wasn't there to do damage. It was simply there to say, I am here.
No, that provocation was intended to do something. Something that's benign doesn't do anything. Or it's kind.
And by benign meaning, just asking.
Yeah, benign is not harmful in effect, or basically it's not doing anything at all. It's non-malignant. It's not cancerous.
He did her no harm. He was simply there.
Yes, but it's but it is a provocation. It has intent. There was intent there to provoke a reaction.
The question is of malice.
Yes. Well, I don't think malice is anywhere in this, but
exactly.
Benign brings with it. Benign brings with it a certain tone of harmless or. Oh, I know. It's there. Yeah, it's there, but you don't have to do anything about it. I understand that portion of it, but a provocation is not neutral. A neutral party does not provoke another party. That's the point. That's where I'm at here. A neutral party doesn't provoke or endorse or anything. A neutral party doesn't. A neutral party wouldn't have been there, right? Like if he was truly neutral in the whole thing, like apathetic, just I'm not getting involved.
Well, we
right?
know that that's not the case.
Exactly, and that's why I'm saying it's not benign. It's not neutral. There is a the provocation was there, right? Anita did not.
I mean, and like I've said before, we're just kind of spitballing and
it's yes.
On it.
Well, that's the whole point. It's just the analysis of where they could have done differently.
Think that there was meanness in him being there.
I think there was a hope of her doing something that he could use against her.
I think there was a genuine hope that how cool would it be if?
Yeah, it's
but
sort
I
of
don't
like
think
that.
there was an expectation.
I think there was a mix of.
I think that if I had been there with the shitlords or the garbage people, as we are.
Yes, garbage humans.
Garbage
humans.
Garbage pals.
How about? Oh my God!
Kids.
I was gonna say they were the garbage patch. We're the garbage patch kids.
Garbage Pail Kids.
I just heard that because I was thinking, hey, why not just call them that?
Yeah, garbage patch kids.
Yeah, but
I'll take it.
They weren't expecting like her to change, really. She's way too firm into her beliefs.
Yeah, I just think there was definitely the hope she would do something incriminating.
At her level of people knowing her, I would think that I could go into a situation like that thinking, how cool would it be if, but most likely, she's just gonna ignore me and maybe give me a dirty look and maybe tweet about me, but she's not gonna show her ass about this because I'm nobody to her.
I think if Sargon, let's just say Sargon wanted to have a legitimate.
He wanted something to happen, but did not expect.
No, he didn't expect what he got.
Moment for it to actually happen.
And as I said,
I would have been wound up like a top, like please, bitch, say something.
Like
bitch, say something. I'd have been bouncing in my fucking seat.
But I don't think anyone could have expected the reaction they got. And this is where I come into the point of him being there. Him being there was a provocation. There was intent to, because and he knew that he would, but that by doing what he was doing was going to unnerve or in some way incite a response. It was going to pursue a reaction.
He expected it to be the response that happened.
I'm not saying that's necessary. I'm not saying he had to expect that response, and I've said no one could have expected that response. What I'm saying is that
he was
the purpose of being there, all right, was not entirely innocuous. The purpose of being there was not.
Like that wording?
It was intended to do something. It was intended to provoke a response, and it got a response. let's just say he said, I just wanted to know what she had said at the panel. He could have watched that on video. Let's be fair.
That's true.
He could have watched it on video, right? He could have had somebody else tape it. I'm sure there was going to be a stream of it somewhere or some sort of, whatever. There's no reason that he needed to be in that room. And as I mentioned before, especially not in the seat he chose. Make no mistake, that seat was not an accident. He was not forced to sit there. All right. He knew what he was doing sitting in that seat. Have I ignored the chat, by the way, because I can't see it the way my windows it up?
No, it just says
Screech like a bloody snatcher. Did I break concentration? Think themselves the most.
Not that much.
Okay, I've missed Pepino. Pepino knows I love him, though. It's all good. But in any case, so I'm just going to say that. So we covered her declare war on your enemies, polarity strategy, deterrent strategies of creating a threatening presence so you're not someone they want to try and cause shit with necessarily, at least not IRL. Occupying the moral high ground, I think she had that one set up. Here's the next one, which I think she's always had a very good hand with. Seek to work for the seem to work. There it is. Fuck. Seem to work for the interest of others. This is number 27. Yeah, she misses a few through the middle. Seem to work for the interest of others while furthering your own. The alliance strategy. The best way to what?
I'm an idiot.
Why?
I just now understood the whole point of this, that you were going through the ones that each of them used.
Yes, and each of them failed on.
Oh, Jesus wept. I'm a fucking moron, dude.
That's all I was trying to do. I was examining this from a strategic perspective.
Yeah,
Specifically the 33.
Okay, which ones did he use? Which ones did she use?
Yeah, and which ones could they both have done better?
Fucking hammers. Pino says he's listening and playing KSP at the same time.
What's KSP? No, not getting taken aside again. God damn it, I'm terrible at this. Anyway, so the best way to advance your cause with the minimum of effort and bloodshed is to create a constantly shifting network of alliances, getting others to compensate for your deficiencies, do your dirty work, fight your wars. At the same time, you must work to sow dissension in the alliances of others, weakening your enemies by isolating them. So, looking at this here, she is making her own money, and again, she's seeming to advocate for women being abused online or whatever, right? She's in this panel, how to be a female content creator, whatnot, putting forth the visage of an alliance with, other women, other content creators. I don't think it's ridiculous for us to say she's there for her own gain. She is there to make money and maintain her notoriety, or at least public stature.
I think that is the massive part of it, but I don't know that, like I've said, I still think part of me thinks that she's a true believer. I could be wrong. You could be absolutely right that it's all a con job.
I think she believes in green.
But I think she does too. But I think that she is the feminist version of Al Gore. She has become the priestess of her own religion.
Mm. See, I think I've heard there's been a lot of feminists.
Couldn't become president.
Yeah, so it became his own thing.
So he became the priest of his own religion.
Yeah.
And priests, at least when you're running your own religion,
Mm.
make a lot of money.
But yeah, I don't know. There's a whole lot of disagreement on the fact that she's got the alliance strategy down pretty well, allying herself with whom she needs to, and trying to undermine the alliances of others.
Champ at that.
So the next one I had here was the dominating while seeming to submit. Now, up until the incident itself, up until her blowing up on Sargon, and even then being internally consistent with the whole Israel analogy I put forward, and the internal logic of the position of feminism with women being the victims.
The shrinking violet.
Yeah, men being the victimizers, dominating while seeming to submit. I think she pulled that one very well. He needs to be removed because he's a threat to us and our safety, and his presence disrupts it, and he ought to know that, yada yada. Have people ejected, have that called, whatever. I think passive aggression has always been one of her one of her strengths. And that is, again, in a world where political considerations are paramount, the most effective form of aggression is the best hidden one. aggression behind a compliant or even loving exterior. You know, she's doing this to try and help gaming. She's doing this to try and, you know, improve things. But if things are going to improve, some stuff is going to need to happen. Do you know what I mean? That kind of approach. I think for getting up there and giving a panel on, you know, how hard it is that they have it, she's definitely asserting power by playing the victim in this one.
She made 5 times what my house was worth last year for 3 videos when she promised, I think, 8.
Yeah. So there's and this was a couple of years ago now. Believe it or not, it's been like
she's done it 4 fucking times.
Yeah, it's been 2 or 3 years.
Cult around me that would give me money to do shit and I didn't have to fucking finish it. That's like being a goddamn weatherman.
Man, I'd finish 8 videos for 400K. I'm telling you that much, all right?
400 fucking K, I would do shit on fucking video that I wouldn't want my mother to see.
I've liked that. The Feminist Frequency brought in $400,000 and their expenses were basically nil on the videos. And of course, Feminist Frequency gets to pay a salary to somebody, but that's not the point. That really does conclude what I think she's managed to do as far as the strategies in this one. I think she's inwardly declared war on an outside target. I think she's created a presence that is usually not to be engaged with. Yeah, I think she plays claims the moral high ground to the people with whom she believes it matters. And I think that's the same for both Sargon and Anita. As I mentioned, strategies 1 and 25, I think, apply to both of them in this case. I think that just being on the panel exhibits her alliance strategy talent. The fact that she's able to network and move through all this just for bettering herself in the end. And I think the whole passive aggression is a big one there. Now, this was openly aggressive, and she succeeds and fails the passive aggression with this one. So I'll give a 50-50 on that one. But I haven't covered the ones where I think she necessarily fails brutally. And so I'm gonna go to those now. I didn't even have these ones noted down, so I'm gonna kind of scroll through. If you're in the chat and you do have the PDF link, take a look at them and let me know what you guys think is the case there. Kerbal Space Program, okay. But yeah, I just looked at the chat again.
What we need to do?
What?
With this book, we need to have a damn reading club.
Right? Oh, I know. I know of people.
I think we ought to like get like a dozen of us or however many want to get in on it.
The Shitlord Book Club.
Okay, we're gonna read this much this week, and then we'll talk about it on whatever day that week.
Tune into the Academy streams, and we'll talk about that. See if they got room. That's a whole other thing. The mods keep interesting. It's a whole other thing. I'll talk about it later. But yeah, so if anyone's in the chat, or if you're watching this, because I got 6 people watching this, and you should all have access to the PDF. If you'd like to say where you think, strategies you think she failed on, stuff that I've been wrong on, or Octane or Bose have had their moments with, engage in the chat, because I'd actually like to have this become a larger discussion. But
same here.
I'm looking through my since I'm taking courses in communications and sociology, to see if I can bring those things into the.
So
anything you want to ask?
I was going to say, there's Do Not Fight the Last War, the Guerrilla of the Mind strategy. I think she's still very much fighting an old fight with this, or fighting it in a way that she doesn't need to. It says what most.
I think third wave feminism is basically a repackaging of Marxism.
Well, it is.
Exactly.
It is cultural Marxism. That's
it's definitely.
It's power politics with sex as the classes. But yeah, so you have the Do Not Fight the Last War, the Guerrilla War of the Mind strategy. What most often weighs you down and brings you misery is the past. You must consciously wage war against the past and force yourself to react to the present moment. Be ruthless on yourself. Yep, do not repeat the same tired methods. That's the big part there. Wage guerrilla war on your mind, allowing no static lines of defense, make everything fluid and mobile. So what she's done here is,
as Bruce Lee put it, be like water.
Yes. In her initial Feminist Frequency videos, the tactic, the cry bully tactic worked. Throw out a whole bunch of abuse and bullshit, right? wait, and then when that bullshit comes back to you in the form of criticism, cry foul, cry victim, and sling more shit to just perpetuate the cycle. That has ceased to work, or at least has lost a lot of its
criticism is to learn.
Yeah, that has lost a lot of its value as a strategy, or as a tactic, I should say. And by continuing to fight that way, with the freak out on Sargon and claim all this stuff and throw the abuse, I don't think it's going to come around that she can spin it in a positive light this time. And because she used old tactics and old approaches to do it, I think she failed on strategy 2. That would be my first one. And in doing so, definitely loses amidst the turmoil of events, do not lose your presence of mind.
Mm-hmm.
The counterbalance strategy. I think that's enough said. She blew up. She could have just gotten through that and even gained from it had she pulled it right. Yeah, right. Never tell me the odds.
There's nothing to see here. Remain calm.
Right. Go about your business. Move along. I don't think that. Yeah. Keep calm. Carry on. The death ground strategy. Yeah.
Nothing to see here.
The death ground strategy doesn't apply to either of them. Right. There's no sense of desperation that needs to be employed.
Well, to her, maybe.
No. I think if she acted somewhat desperate, but I don't think.
Well, I feel like she shouldn't. I just, by the looks of her, I think she's just. I think it's more like annoyance. I think than desperation, isn't it?
Just she's fed up.
Yeah, exactly. Like, why are you here?
Be in trouble in the doctor tomorrow.
Then maybe you should sleep and get some
Well,
rest.
I have to go and see my oncologist tomorrow
Oh shit.
because I'm pretty certain that I have at least 2 hernias.
Ooh.
It's where they cut through my abdominal wall.
Yeah, those
And,
bottles of things behind you aren't helping.
well, the bottles of things behind me aren't the problem. It was the bottle in front of me that was the problem.
Ooh. Fun.
And I've been drinking it, and
Well, that's what I mean, is that the bottles are not helping. Oh no, it's him now.
The bottles behind me are why part of my behind is gone.
Oh
But,
god.
Hey, I'm just glad that I don't have a colostomy bag.
Right?
You know?
You could say that stopping when you did saved your ass. Bum. There we go.
Good. That made me happy on a dark level.
I desperately need a rim shot sound effect.
Yes, you do. You need to download an app on your phone of it, and you can just like put it right up next to the microphone.
The Sophane, oh sorry, the Fat Pat.
The Sophane.
Poisoning the well, where he's always got the airphone sound effect. It's on an app on the top of his phone.
Okay.
Right on his home screen, he's like, bwah, 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 bwah. And I'm like, yes, Pat, yes.
I used to have a beep on my phone because I was trying to get my language under control.
Oh God.
Anytime I felt like cussing, I hit the beep, and people got tired of it real fucking quick.
I used to have there's a guy.
What?
Oh, fuck. Forget his Twitter handle. Max. Yeah, it's Max Tyson. Not at all. Not in the slightest.
I was eating ice cream on the sugar cone.
No, go ahead, man. Enjoy the cone, man.
Palamine.
I eat sugar cones without the fucking ice cream, man. Those are fucking awesome.
Like
guy.
Crackers. Well, actually, no.
Guy, yeah.
It's like graham crackers. Oh, sorry, I'm shutting up.
No worries. It's a guy. His name's he's at Max Tyson, THYSON. Ask him about it. He put out onto the Android store a wage gap button app, which is literally a recording of Shoe on Heads. Yeah, it's just the audio. It's just the audio, so you just hit it. So yeah, that
makes me inordinately happy.
I don't know what it is, but I'm sure if you at him, Max Tyson, MAX THYSON.
The little thing at the bottom of
the description. I'm gonna tweet about him right now. I'm just gonna put at Max Tyson. Your app's about to get
arguments about that. Oh, I got sick of arguments about that.
Get a bit more popular, and so I'll just throw that to him. He's be like, "What the hell?" So back to
to get it over with and out of the way, I'm
Mhm.
supposed to go to my oncologist tomorrow, and he's probably going to send me to my surgeon.
Mhm.
And I've had way too many electric screwdrivers tonight, and it's probably going to fuck my blood work up.
Yo, definitely. For
I'm
damn
hoping it
right.
won't be blood work. Hopefully, he'll just have
Hopefully.
to push on it and feel where it's like doing that weird squirty thing.
Yeah. Okay. Let's.
Ugh.
Yeah. Let's
I'm
not.
sorry. I'll shut up now.
I'm gonna skip the organizational team warfare because it doesn't apply to any of this. For the most part.
It's just mostly individual, right? They were
Hmm.
they're in a group, but they're not like
Yeah.
like
The
soldiers.
the three are the command and control strategy, avoiding the snares of groupthink, which is an issue with the left as a whole, but not with Anita specifically in this case.
He's
Segment
a good generator of groupthink.
right. Segmenting your forces, the controlled chaos strategy. Again, it involves having more than one thing to have control over, and it doesn't apply here. Then there's number 7, which is transform your war into a crusade, morale strategies. That one does apply somewhat, and
That's
she's been.
Kekistan.
No, it's not.
That is Kekistan.
It's third wave. No, it's not.
It is a crusade for free speech.
Let's just say it's both.
It's but it's not. It's the thing is though, it's not an ideological crusade.
Derogatory concept.
No, I know.
Context. I'm saying it's a group of people saying we are standing up for X.
Yes, but they're standing up for individualism.
Free speech.
And I'll read you the summary and this.
As you said, individualism. Yeah.
But that's the problem. That's why it won't factor in here. But I'll read you the summary and again, PDF is there if you want to read the whole.
Sorry, I'm thinking of our side.
Yeah, but it says no. But this is in general. It's the secret to motivating people and maintaining their morale is to get them to think less about themselves and more about the group. Involve them in a cause, a crusade against a hated enemy. Make them see their survival as tied to the success of the army as a whole. Kekis.
Go ahead.
Kekistan.
About that one. Sorry, you go first. I can still remember it.
Yeah, Kekistan is much more of an individual statement, right? It shares a common goal, but it's by no means an existential crusade. That's the issue. What was it, Octane?
I was thinking about when it comes to war and the moral strategy. I just think of that funny time, isn't it? Do you guys remember the whole gay pride thing versus BLM in Toronto?
Oh God!
I have 2 videos on it. Yes.
Storm.
One from last year, one from this year.
Yeah, both videos were awesome.
I was thinking about that, like the morale says, like you're not representing black people, and we have the right to be enraged.
What bothers me is that they used hostage taking tactics. Like they literally they sat in at the parade, they prevented it from going forward, and while doing so, they tabled a bunch of demands to Toronto Pride.
Oh my
They held it hostage.
Yes, they held the parade hostage. And
Canadians are literally killing it with kindness.
No,
well, actually, too much kindness.
What are you talking? No. I mean, well, yeah, we're giving in too much.
It's on the act of kindness because, like, since this does not represent ... this, I think you'll be kind enough, yet in a violent way, to have this represent this.
Yeah, but their methods were not kind. They literally stopped the entire parade. Said your parade isn't going to get to go on unless you agree to our demands.
Exactly.
See, I figured out what needs to happen.
Mm-hmm.
What?
You know what I was gonna say. He has a solution, and it might be of the final variety. So we're
just tell me. I don't care. I want to hear it. Just tell me.
All right, and I've been ruminating about this for a few days now.
Uh-huh.
I think that the best thing we could do is take all the folks that think that you shouldn't be able to speak your mind and you shouldn't be able to say whatever words you want to say and have them held up for public ridicule, and have all the folks who think that you shouldn't have guns to protect the right to act like an asshole if need be. I think that we ought to take all the folks that kind of take that SJW mindset, and I'd say that we're looking at maybe 10% of the U.S. population. Maybe at the outside, 20%.
Uh-huh.
If you gave them a test, they'd be like, you could just say, how many daddy parts does daddy have?
Oh
How many
God.
mommy parts does mommy have? And does aunt fill in the blank have different parts? If so, do you love her anyway? Yeah. Is she a jerk? No. Okay, cool. She gets to stay. We take all of the assholes, which is what SJWs are. They're arrogant, autocratic, assumption. They're just a bunch of bad words that start with a assholes.
Yep.
We take all of them and we put them on trains. Just hear me out.
Again, I'm telling you, final solutions coming in right now.
Hear me out. We send them to Quebec.
Oh fuck, man. No, Quebec's a hotbed of
And then
Quebec.
No, hear me out. Hear me out. We send them to Quebec. And all the people that think that the U.S. is a horrible racist nation that could never do right by anybody that has any melanin in their skin, they get on the train and go up to Quebec. And all of the people in Canada that want to be able to say what they want to say and believe what they want to believe, and if somebody looks like a man, you call them a man. If they say, "I'm sorry, I'm a woman, I'm working on it,"
So you
say,
propose a
"Okay,
trade.
That's what you are." I propose a fucking trade.
I propose a trade.
Instead of a divorce,
just a trade.
I want a trade.
We'll swap. But like
Canada right now is moving itself. Its keel is steadily headed toward just complete
ridiculousness.
control.
So what you say is I get to move to the U.S. Long story short.
With me until you find a fucking spot.
Viper becomes an American.
We'll have trains going both directions. All the people that think that just because the fucking electoral college didn't go their fucking way, that means that it's the end of fucking democracy.
Head north.
I got news for you, dipshit. We're not a fucking democracy. We're a fucking republic. That's why the goddamn thing's still there.
Constitutional republic. So Canada gets a whole bunch of SJWs and progressives. The U.S. gets a whole bunch more people. I'm good with that.
We would get a bunch of awesome people whose brains are still functioning at an adult fucking level.
Nice.
See, I've always said this.
And
I have
the underwear model and Castro's fucking love child.
Oh God.
Can fucking have all of these pink and blue-haired dipshits that think that the world is their fucking oyster until they take a bite and get fucking food poisoning.
The way I figure it,
they can take all of that garbage and figure out how to fucking pay for it. And when they can't pay for it, they can go and ask fucking China for the fucking money.
See, I just
There's oil sands up there. They can use that.
All I want, I've already said, the U.S. can annex a province or two, and I will help. But the only thing I request is a tank.
I still think we should have invaded in 1810.
You tried it. Let me tell you again. You tried it in 1812.
It should have been a better try.
You fucking.
Was the response to 1810.
You failed miserably. There was all this, we'll do all this, we'll do all this. You sent terrible generals to lead unprepared troops who didn't really care about going in.
I absolutely agree.
And then
we tried to be an empire and it didn't work. But we
Canada turned around and was like, "Look, we were minding our own fucking business. We're chilling up here with maple syrup and a bunch of natives."
As far as things go on your all side of that, you all were pretty much without fault. We pushed that.
We turned around.
A particular card, played a hand that we thought was going to play out a different way, and we shouldn't have.
And then August 24th.
If we had pushed fucking harder,
nope.
You guys would all have guns, and the crazy motherfuckers that want to kill everybody and act like idiots would be thinking twice.
I'm going to tell you right now, the best way I've found to trigger some.
You guys have guns up there. It's just y'all don't have the same kind of.
Yeah, same types of guns.
You can't use. Well, here's this. I heard that you can't use certain things. You can't even use pepper spray as self-defense.
Depends on a province.
Yeah, but that's ridiculous. No, come on, basic self-defense for.
Hey, for what it's worth. For what it's worth, when it comes down to province by province, I'd like it to be state by state down here.
Yeah, so it's
something to be said for the idea of provinces and states being able to make their own rules. As much as it pisses me off, I think that firearms should be legal in all 50 states because that's in the Bill of Rights.
Yeah.
Pepper spray.
Yeah, that stuff's not covered.
Knives, that should be the state's purview. It's not a firearm. It's not an arm that is used to take life.
here's the thing that I would say about the pepper spray up here. You'll get charged for ownership or
Bet
possess.
you get charged as much as if you're a cute little co-ed.
No, it's possession of a prohibited item or a prohibited weapon or something along those lines. That's what you'll get dinged with. However, you probably aren't going to get the corresponding thing for like assault with a weapon, etc., like, or assault with a weapon dangerous to the public peace. And at the end of the day, right, if it's a legitimate assault about to take place and you do defend yourself, you do have the legal defense of that which is necessary is legal.
Okay, one real quick question.
Mm-hmm.
When you say a weapon that can affect the public peace,
A weapon dangerous to the public peace, yes.
you're roboting a little bit, but real quick, the question I have is because I'm a stickler.
Mm-hmm.
My whole concept is the reason the law is the way the law is to find wiggle room in order to get past the law.
Okay.
I think fewer laws are better laws because it's harder to wiggle.
Mm-hmm.
If you say it's not legal to steal and make it as a blanket statement, that means the jerk on Wall Street that fucks people out of billions of fucking dollars is still stealing, just like the guy that steals a fucking Twinkie.
Oh, exactly.
You're still stealing. You're going to get a different sentence, but you're still stealing.
Is it legal to steal if your life is in danger and you need to do it to survive?
Yeah, that's the thing.
In our nation, there is no one that needs to steal to eat.
Okay, here's a concept. You're being chased by a group of.
Sorry, you're roboting real bad.
Okay, I will refresh. See, now it works because there's more than just me and one other person in here. Am I good now?
You're good.
Oh, good. Yeah, perfect.
Okay, so what winds up happening is, let's say you're being chased by a group of corrupt police officers, right? Let's just say. And
Steak?
pardon?
Are they demanding steak?
I don't know why they would be.
Just thrown out there.
Why is the bacon asking for steak? So in any case, ba-dum-bum.
Hey.
Ah, ba-dum-bum.
Hey, there's nothing. I don't see anything wrong with a nice piece of filet mignon.
Yeah, I know, bacon. Anyway, so let's just say you're trying to get away from somebody, right? You're trying to get people. It's illegal to it's illegal to steal. It's illegal to break and enter. It's illegal to do X, Y, Z. If there's a point in your life where you need to do something that is not legal,
bastard.
let's say it's not legal to steal. It's not legal to speed on the highway, right? However, let's say that you don't have the option of waiting for an ambulance. You need to get somebody to a hospital immediately, and you punch it. And you get there and
common sense.
No, but that's the problem when you have a law that is so vague as it is illegal to steal, or it is illegal to speed, or it is illegal to so and so and such.
But that's the thing. Okay, I probably didn't make myself clear.
Yeah.
Laws need to be very specific.
Laws need to be specific, but not so specific that they bind the constituency.
But that's the whole.
Okay.
But welcome to laws. Welcome to finding the balance in humanity.
I always agree with what I think it was Jerry Seinfeld. He made me want to become a lawyer. I don't have the mind for it, but he made me want to become a lawyer for about 20 minutes. He said lawyers are the guys that read the instructions on the top of the box. Like
okay.
When you play a game, board game, for us old farts.
Yeah.
A lot of times you flip over the top of the box and it's got the instructions printed on the top of the box.
Mm-hmm.
It tells you, okay, well, this is how much money gets.
Monopoly, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the lawyers are the guys that have read it.
Okay.
Everybody else is playing house rules.
Yeah, pretty much.
But the lawyers have actually read the top of the box, and it's like, okay, this is. Because I know I had oh God bless the lawyer that I had. I'm serious. My life would have been over if not for some good lawyering. And there is something to be said for specificity in the law, but there is also something to be said for those who those who enforce the law having the leeway to enforce it on their own terms at times.
Hmm.
An example I'd use is when I was a kid. Okay, we didn't have a cop in our town. We had a constable. He was a glorified lock rattler.
Hmm.
He checked on the businesses in town, made sure that they were locked up, and just kind of roamed the streets, making sure that nobody was broke down on the side of the road and that nobody was out joyriding, tearing shit up. He pulled over my next door neighbor. Was a good kid, had a little bit of a lead foot. He had a VW Bug that had a V8 engine in the back because his father and him were both nuts. This car, I would guesstimate, would hit 220.
Jeez.
And he would take it down straight back roads between counties at every bit of 80 miles an hour. If he'd have hit a deer, it would have killed him. And the constable caught him doing it one night, and he said, "Son, you got to go home. You can't be doing this shit. Do you realize how much danger?" I mean, it was the 70s, so it was essentially a discussion between an adult and a youngster. He was 17 years old, but he was a youngster. And he told him, he was like, "Look, I get it. When I was a kid, we had hot rods. We'd go out, we'd raise hell, but you could have killed somebody," because he was pulling out of a corner just about the time that this kid come over the hill, and he damn near hit him. Well, he could have gone and called the state police on that kid. He was going, I think it was 50 miles over the limit on the road that he was on. That was, I mean, he could have called the county boys or somebody to come get him because he really fucked up. But he was a good kid, and the constable, because he was a constable at the time, I mean, like I said, this is, God, 40 years ago. And they don't have, I mean, there are still constables, but most of the time they're a redundancy. But the ability for a law enforcement or a peace officer to say, "Okay, the kid fucked up. I'm going to take him home, talk to his dad, get him squared away, and let it go." The way our justice system is set up now, it hamstrings the ability to do that in a lot of ways, in my opinion. I think that the more that you can, the more centralized authority becomes, the less specific it can be. Like schools, a school has a zero tolerance policy against anything to do with firearms, and a child chews a Pop-Tart into the shape of a fucking gun, and they get sent home for a week.
That's a little bit ridiculous.
It's retarded. I mean, like in the classical, like just it is socially fucking retarded for an authority figure to say you ate your snack into the shape of something that could potentially kill someone, so we're going to send you home for a week. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot.
So, in other news.
Sorry.
No worries.
I was rambling while you were peeing.
I was perfect. I'm good with that, man. Let it.
I was straight up listening. It was like, man.
Gotta piss sometime.
I'm sorry. Dude, I worry about like controlling conversations. I don't shut up. It's like a shortcoming of mine. Anytime I'm like,
it's all good.
To shut up, just say so, please.
I just wanted to roll the just wanted to roll through the rest of this and get it all kind of wrapped up.
Listening, I just straight up listened to like, man, you're kind of right about there. Jeez.
So items in which priestess of feminism Anita has failed. Picking your battles carefully. So the perfect economy strategy, definitely a failure. I think that one's pretty obvious. She didn't have to fight that fight and would have done a lot better not to have done it. Turning the tables, there wasn't really a counter. She didn't really fail to employ a counter attack strategy, and she didn't. It wasn't like she was given an opportunity to counter attack and didn't. So I'm going to skip that one. Trading space for time, the non-engagement strategy, probably her biggest failure, to be honest. Aside from she basically lost her presence of mind, and then then screwed up that one. I don't know what there's a word I'm looking for, and I can't remember it, but
I like how Based Mama put it.
Hmm?
If I'm not mistaken, I think she was just like in a stream.
Yeah.
Like on the chat part.
Yep.
And she said something along the lines of, if I recall right, I could be mistaken, but I think she said something along the lines of, your rights end at the tip of my nose.
Yeah, it's along the lines of your rights end where somebody else's begin. Along those lines.
I mean, if you people can't just be jerks to you and expect you to take it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that depends on certain people, actually, to be quite honest.
But
personally, to me, there's sometimes I just be like, yeah, whatever. If that's what they want to do, fine. I don't care. Sure, it'll be aggravating sometimes, but just go like, yeah, whatever.
So there's that. I think we've
usually that's the safest thing to do is just let the shit go.
Yeah, I just don't put my feelings into it and have my little microaggressions that can turn into macroaggressions.
So anyway, so
are more fun.
So number 12 was grand strategy. That's the whole lose battles, win the war. I covered that one with Sargon employing that rather well. Giving up the momentary, dressing down by Anita.
Is there some way here that there's going to be like some sort of a MGTOW thing, the angry MGTOW? First, they laugh at you, then they fight you, and then you win.
You realize that's not angry MGTOW, that's Mahatma Gandhi, right?
Oh, really?
That's a quote from Mahatma Gandhi. First they ignore you, then they mock you, then they fight you, then they win. Then you win.
Yeah, it kind of terrified me that that he was quoting Mahatma Gandhi when I found out, because I thought it sounded familiar and I couldn't figure out from where. And when I looked at it, I was like, no.
Yeah, it's a Gandhi quote.
When I first heard it, I was thinking, that kind of sounds a bit ridiculous to be at first, at the surface.
It's actually brilliant. It doesn't mean that everyone who quotes it is, but the whole concept of non-engagement and passive resistance, like...
Oh, I see. Oh, like some of the MLK thing, right? And, well, he did resist, but not...
Example of Gandhi.
You make the jerk swing first.
Example of Gandhi's passive resistance. The British levied a salt tax on the Indian, on India, the Indians. I guess it's the only correct way to go. Yeah, not feather. So the British levied a salt tax on India, and Gandhi's resistance to this was to lead a march from his home to the sea, and picking up people along with him as he went. And what they were going to do was going to go down to the sea, dip lengths of fabric into the sea, right? Mm-hmm. And then take them out, dry them, and you wring them out, and the salt falls off of it, right? That's how you got salt back in the day. Well, the British thought, okay, nothing will come of this, and he starts gathering people. Then they mocked him, like, oh, what an idiot! Look at him, he's walking all the way to the ocean. It's not going to accomplish anything. Okay, well, that didn't stop him, and he kept going. And they realized, the British knew that if the Indian people were like, yeah, we can just get our own fucking salt, like, screw you, right?
Yep.
That Britain would lose a certain economic hold over them. So what do? Eventually, they tried to break up the march with wooden cudgels and shit. And it was through this abuse of power and this violence against a non-violent resistance that caused Britain to lose so much face that they just couldn't maintain the war against Gandhi's uprising, essentially, because it was a losing war.
Sun Tzu.
Yeah, it was a losing war.
It was supply lines.
Not really.
The British were intending to see salt. The British thought that salt was such an important part that only they could provide. That when Gandhi was like, "No, we can go get our own fucking salt, dipshit."
We're just gonna make our own stuff.
It undercut them.
Yeah.
It undermined the British position, and they were like, "Oh shit! I mean, you're dead right." They realized they were fucked.
Yeah, they mocked it at first, thinking him just marching to the sea is not going to accomplish anything. So they said that. Then people started joining him, and more people start joining him, and the people keep coming, and they don't stop coming. Yeah, I know. Anyway, so there's.
Okay, now I'm bopping to a song that I can't hear. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, welcome.
Okay.
Glad to help.
I'm probably gonna move out somewhere since somebody's here. I'm just
All
gonna
right.
move out for a little bit, and maybe I may join back in. All right.
Alrighty.
Maybe.
Peace out, man. Thanks for joining, and
Okay.
thanks for rejoining if you get the chance.
Come back soon.
Sure. No problem.
All right, so we got that covered. Lose battles, win the war. She definitely failed in that one. She fought a battle and lost a battle that will probably inevitably lose her a war. Know your enemy. Definitely didn't manage that one. Overwhelm resistance with speed and suddenness. The blitzkrieg strategy. Nope. Controlling the dynamic. Forcing strategies. I don't think that was a failure as much as it was a. I guess you could just kind of ignored it in general. Let's see. Roll through here. What did her actions really fly in the face of? Negotiate while advancing, the diplomatic war strategy. Before and during negotiations, you must keep advancing, creating relentless pressure and compelling the other side to settle on your terms. Don't know if it applies that well here. Here's a definite one. Know how to end things, the exit strategy. Know when the fight is over. Know when to stop fighting. And know when not only to not engage, but just to leave in general. I think she's been in this fight a little longer than she should have kept herself here.
She keeps poking the giant and expecting it not to wake up.
Well, I think she pokes the giant hoping it'll wake up, but forgetting that the tactic is old. That goes back to the.
She's poking a different giant.
That's possible.
I mean, what I'm saying is, I think that she is putting herself out there as a leader of a movement. And what she's actually doing is kind of pushing people into a counter movement that says, no, you're fucking nuts. We don't want any part of it. And she is inadvertently destroying her own position.
And yeah,
at least from my perspective, I could be very wrong. I think it seems like she thinks she's too clever by half, as my grandmother would have put it.
Well, aside from the major failures of the presence of mind and not fighting kind of the last war bit, denying them targets, the strategy of the void that I mentioned that Sargon could have done better with. In this case, Anita provided him with all the target he could have asked for and more. The feeling of emptiness or void silence, isolation, non-engagement with others, is for most people intolerable. Give your enemies no target to attack, be dangerous but elusive, then watch as they chase you into the void. Instead of frontal battles, deliver irritating but damaging side attacks and pinprick bites. Definitely something that she didn't take on there. Very blatantly created a giant target on herself. Faced Sargon essentially in open combat, if you will, by openly attacking him verbally during the panel, and gave everyone something to look at and say, "You done goofed." Let's see. Rivals enough rope to hang themselves. Well, she hung herself essentially on that one. She not only failed at the whole penetrate their minds, but allowed it to be used on her. And then, as I said, she was 50-50 on the passive aggression. Normally, she had the passive aggression down pat, and shit the bed on it when she openly aggressed against Sargon.
That's my favorite phrase in the English.
Just shit the bed.
He shit the fucking bed.
And I think that's really the end of it. That's where we wrap up after 3.5 hours. I did not expect this to be 3.5 hours. I could, but it's like 1 a.m. here.
Or something? Well, it's 1 a.m. here too. Why do you think I asked you what time zone you were in?
That's a fair point.
I was on another channel thinking that it was like I thought you were gonna start at like 10:30 my time. I was like, why ain't I heard nothing yet? And then my was like, oh, he means his gaming channel.
Yeah, that was all YouTube's fault. Well, we'll stop this stream. We could maybe do another one, but this one was supposed to be just the strategic discussion, which went on a little longer than anticipated.
It's good radio.
This is true. So I will bid adieu to everyone for this stream. Possibly one to follow afterwards. Bose, say goodbye to the good people.
Goodbye to the good people.
Good night, everybody.